All right. Good evening, everybody. How we doing tonight?
Good.
Good. Of course, we got our guest coming on. We'll introduce here in a bit. Eric, good to see you. Eric's a fan of ours. He's on just about every Wednesday.
Hey, Eric, I didn't forget about you. I still got your sling here. Why don't you text or message me your address so I can mail it to you?
Tell you what, Jamie, if he can wait, I think my wife's going to be up there next week.
Okay. He's impatient. He's really impatient.
Is it okay?
No, I'm kidding.
I don't believe that for a minute.
No, I know. It's kidding.
Anyway, then she can just bring it down. We see Eric and his wife quite a bit. Hey, Vance from Georgia and Brian. Hey, fellow MVE.
Yeah, I love that one. That's my favorite one every week, Brian. Don't ever stop.
Hey, Dan, good to see you here again this evening. We're just getting started. Been a few. I think Dan's been busy out shooting though, so we'll give him a pass, won't we?
Gun nut.
Gun crazy, right? All right, let's get this show. You know what, Naomi? I'll put this up here, and if you would like to read it, because I don't think you have it memorized like us, probably the second.
Yeah, I didn't remember last week. I forgot it though. I made a fool of myself.
Why don't we have you? That's how we start out every single show with the Second Amendment.
So the Second Amendment says, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
Hey, just like a pro, you did it. No problem. You know, I got to tell this little story. When I was an NRA rep, I was on the radio, and I actually got asked, what does the Second Amendment say? You know, and I'm like, right to keep and bear arms shall not be used. No, what's it say? This guy called me out, and good for him because it made me memorize it after that.
Yeah, right.
27 distinctive words. So I've never forgotten that. Hey, one shot cap. Good to see you there. Eric Newman says whenever is fine. So there you go. You got
all right, Eric. Awesome, buddy.
Well, Jamie, why don't you start us off with introducing our guest tonight?
Yeah. So we got a guest tonight, Naomi. Is it Chaffee night?
That was right. Chaffee, first time.
Okay, I used to be a big skier, so I know who Susie Chaffee was. She was a chapsticks skier gal. So
I'm not related.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, we got her on. She's got her own podcast called Constitutional Chaffee, and you can find that where, Naomi, on Facebook, and where are you?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. So I got a lot of resources for you there.
Okay, and
Naomi, I got to let you know, you didn't think you'd have any. We just picked up a viewer on your channel.
Are you serious?
Love it. Good job. So before we get a little deeper into that, I'll just let everybody know what we got coming on tonight. Like we're just going to introduce Naomi here and what she's up to and what she's into and doing. And we're going to go over she's going to be an attorney. So we're going to be going over the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruen case, the landmark case in our Second Amendment rights. And we're going over Measure 114 that's going before the court there in Oregon. And Clay's going to change it up a little after we do the two-way bullet points. He's instead of the Clay's Commie Company this week, we're going to be talking those darned NRA compromisers. We're going to talk about that, if that's really true or not. And then, of course, we're going to have the happy ending. So, Naomi, I didn't mean to interrupt that. Why don't you tell everybody more what you're doing? Where you're going to school out here to be an attorney, and what made you decide to start up your podcast?
Yeah, so I'm going to be taking the LSAT here in January. So I'm going to be going to law school next fall. I'm not sure where. It depends on, my LSAT score. But I was a philosophy major pre-law. So it was super interesting. I think too with all of this, it makes you. I was not always very conservative. There was a point where I was liberal, but once I started actually challenging my mindset and thinking, why do I believe what I believe? That's when I became conservative because it made me think, right? So yeah,
that happened to you a lot sooner than it does most people that turn into conservatives.
Yeah, right.
So I congratulate you on
I'm
that.
Lucky.
Yeah. Go on.
But yeah, so I have this podcast called Constitutional Chaffee, and as someone that loves the Constitution, the history of the United States, and how we came from England and all that kind of stuff, that history is super important to me. So I love that kind of stuff. So the podcast goes over politics, news, government, and I'm writing a book right now, actually, that's going to be going over freedom of religion, how we came from England, looking at the Church of England, and how that spread throughout the colonies, and how there was a bunch of religious discrimination between denominations, and then how that led up to the Constitution, to the Bill of Rights, to separation of church and state, and then all of the Supreme Court cases that deal with freedom of religion, just because it's really important. And you see this with the Second Amendment too, that a lot of these amendments have to be based in U.S. history and tradition. So if people don't know the history and tradition of religion within the United States, then how can they correctly interpret the Bill of Rights? So that's sort of what I'm doing. That's sort of my spiel.
Real quick, was the Magna Carta England's constitution or their Bill of Rights? I can't remember.
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not so much on their actual government system. I'm more of looking at the Church of England.
It was just a question that popped into my head.
I don't know.
So.
I mean, I can Google it.
I think the Magna Carta was their Bill of Rights.
Don't Google it. Brave it. Switch over to
Brave it. Don't Google. Yeah.
Guys, basically, I can tell you the Magna Carta, it was, I believe, King John of England. Don't quote me on that. But that was something that was around 1200, 1215. And so it comes from over in that royal charter is what that comes from. And we did use a little of that. We took a lot from it, but just a little history and stuff. And I could look up the detail. That's off the top of my head.
Because I think that was the last time the Magna Carta guaranteed Englishmen their right to own guns, but of course they changed it. Yeah. That was a living constitution there.
And I hate that term here when they say we have a living constitution.
I know.
It is not. It's only been amended. Think about it. 27 amendments. One was, of course, rescinded, basically the Halstead Act. We got rid of that and brought back alcohol sales. But so really, though, it's only been amended 17 total times. We had the first 10. 17 total times, guys, in over 250 years.
I know.
It's not an easy document to change.
I know. Well, they try to use the term living document to change the foundation and the standard at which our country was founded upon. So I'm I would not call it a living document. That's just a little weird to me.
So I got a question for you, especially with the age difference. I've been graduated for over 30 years. When I was in school, we did have some teachers that would reference the Constitution as the living document. Yeah. I didn't hear it so much after that. Did you hear that while you were in high school?
Not really. I don't even think I remember the only time we really ever talked about the Constitution was in 8th grade. In high school, I really don't think we talked about it at all. At least to my recollection. I know it's really weird that you'd think that with something that's so important to the foundation of our nation and society that we'd, know more about it. I mean, it's so funny how people can't even name the 3 branches of government. No, I don't know how these people have the same vote as me. How can my vote and their vote be equal? It's just a little weird.
I got 2 sons right now in what I call government indoctrination public schools because that's what they are. Yeah. And I cannot stand the government history teacher right now in Lemon, South Dakota. She knows it, so if she's listening again, I really don't care. I still think the same of her. She couldn't even name to me. This is the person that's supposed to. Yeah. Thanks for listening. I think someone told her because she called me out on it. I really don't care. And I can't wait till parent teacher conferences again. Anyway, she couldn't even tell me the difference between does the United States have a democracy or do we have a representative republic? She said democracy. Wrong.
I know.
Look at who she listens to. I'm sure news sources.
I know.
I heard Merrick Garland say it again today.
I heard it several times a day when that lion Commie was talking. Boy, they hammered him. They hammered him nice. That kind of reminds me, though. With Merrick Garland, you know what's coming, don't you? Here's what I think of Merrick.
Nasty person.
I was already doing it, Clay.
You knew what I was going at.
That's why I said, because I hit the button when you did it.
Well, right here, guys, this is the Democrats' brand new mascot. Whoops, it didn't stay up. There you go. The new mascot.
Oh, that's good. I like
the hammer and sickle right there on the hip. So.
Nice word, Clay.
You didn't know you were in for this, did you, Naomi?
So
this is great.
Real quick before we get into Bruen here, I got to say, a gentleman stopped in my place of employment here. We all signed the petition to stop property tax.
Good.
And he did say he listens to the show on K-Fire. He loves it. I'm sorry, I can't remember your name. Good guy. And he'd stopped back in today. There was something on my bench, and I said, "What's this?" And he said, "The guy with the property." So he dropped it off. It's a flyer here. Protect your community, protect your property rights. There's going to be a rally this Friday, September 22nd at 5:30 p.m. on the North Dakota Capitol steps.
Wow, I'm going to that. That's
protect
really
property rights, no CO2 pipelines, no eminent domain. So,
yeah,
Amy, why don't you take a picture of that, email it to me, and I'll try to get it up here before the end of the show.
See, Naomi, if my computer was an Apple, I could have did this, but I always got to use my phone because I'm not real handy with the computers with Clay here.
So Matt Simons is Matt just chimed in. Garland is no different than every other beta who tries to big dick the second, and he gets.
He is a beta too, massive beta,
big time. You got to remember, guys. Obama wanted this man as a Supreme Court justice right before he was leaving office, and they at least the Senate at least did the right thing then and would not hear it. They didn't even put it up for consideration for approval. Thank goodness. Otherwise, this man would be on the Supreme Court. Can you imagine what the difference that would have been?
Remember, he was crying when they wouldn't approve him in the Senate. He was bawling.
So now he's the Attorney General. Oh, and what an arrogant dick! That's the only word for it.
He's very.
I don't know if you got to watch any of that today. I off and on. I was busy today, but I did get in and I see a few of these things.
Telegrammed you, Clay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
But yeah. So we better get back to Naomi.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you and Naomi kick this off on Bruen. So,
well, of course, you know what Bruen is, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yep.
Bruen versus the state of New York, and I mean, what a monumental thing! I knew this was going to be huge. Heller was great.
Oh, absolutely.
That just affected the DC really area.
Yeah.
And McDonald versus Chicago too. Don't forget that one.
That
all of these decisions, guys, that's the only reason we've been able to fight this back. Mm-hmm. And when we get into this Oregon anti-gun ballot, it's going to go right down the lines of Bruen. And if we get time and we get into my little 2A bullet points, we're going to see in Montana where it's going to be referenced. Guys, Bruen was huge. It was as big as far as I'm concerned, it was big as Roe versus Wade because it sent the message loud and clear from the Supreme Court that the Second Amendment is solid. Those 27 words are individual rights, and that the government can't infringe on them because they don't like the way things are, or they don't like what's going on somewhere. They don't like one political party or the other. It is a solid 27-word statement of our rights. And this is just killing them, guys. So go, Naomi. I'll let you talk a little bit about it.
So I think the most interesting argument when I hear the Second Amendment is like, oh, this is supposed to be just for like military, National Guard. I'm like you realize when they're talking about militia, via the American Revolution, they're talking about individuals that came together. So if you take away the individuals, then you don't have the Second Amendment. So I just don't understand how people in general try to make that argument.
So you know what I say to that, Naomi?
What?
Clay and I've said long ago when we started the show, and I've said long. So let's just say somebody says that to you, right? Well, the militia, that's the National Guard, right? So then just tell them, all right. So just say that. So the militia, let's just say that is the National Guard, right? And there's a comma, and it says the right of the people to keep and bear arms. The people. It doesn't say the militia. If the militia is a National Guard, that's fine. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, that's fine, right? Mm-hmm. But after that, the right of the people, and then the people is referenced in what, three other parts in the Bill of Rights. So does that mean the National Guard too? No, it does not. It does not mean that. So I didn't. Okay, go on. I just had to inject that because I love saying that to liberals.
Absolutely, and they always go on that tangent. It's just like freedom of religion, and they say that there's a separation of church and state. There is no separation of church and state. Thomas Jefferson mentioned those words, but not in the context that they're talking about. He was talking about how there's a separation of church and state, therefore there can be no state religion of denomination. But the basis of religion, honestly, in their minds, and there's tons of things about Jefferson and our founders talking about, because we were founded in Christianity. And they don't like to admit that. If you go back and look through all of the references and documents and what was written down, it was the denomination, it was the Christianity religion, the original Christianity, but no denomination specific, because they just came from that. They just come from that, and they did not want the Church of England. They didn't want to be squashed down, and that's what was happening. And so, go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm doing a bunch of research specifically on this topic right now, and it's very interesting looking at like state constitutions, what they said in regards to Big God time. And Christianity and the Church of England. But a lot of these states, especially because John Adams had Massachusetts, and he's like, "Oh, this deist guy." Look at the state constitution, the state constitution for Massachusetts, and how often God and the church was mentioned, and how it should be an integral part of society. And then the Constitution that was based off of that. So I'm like, Like, what are you guys even saying?
Well, they're cherry picking it. That's what
I know.
they do. And that's exactly how they're presenting this, and it has no basis, none whatsoever. They cherry pick it, and unfortunately, as you just pointed out, you don't hear a lot of that in school anymore. You don't see things spoke of as far as constitutionality and what those amendments actually meant. Yeah. Well, this is what's happening. They don't understand it, so they believe whatever they're told. And they just, there's a separation of church and state. Got to be, right? It's in the Constitution. Well, it's not.
It's not even in the Constitution.
Never was.
Most of the Bill of Rights and Constitution I learned, it probably was in grade school, actually. In high school, I don't remember a whole lot of it. Yeah. But one thing, when I was looking at this Bruen, do you guys know who Bruen is?
No, I just know
because I found that out, actually, who is the guy's name. So it's New York State Rifle and Pistol versus Bruen. So I was like, what's Bruen, right? I just know the win for us was kick ass, but look, right. Kevin Bruen was the guy's name. He's actually the superintendent of the New York State Police, and that he was the one who was getting sued because he required proper cause for a concealed handgun permit, which these two gentlemen who sued Bruen said it was unconstitutional, and obviously they won that. So I mean, that's like the basis of the trial. That's what the main thing was. But what was awesome is when it actually was it was 6-3 decision in the Supreme Court. And what was awesome after that is when Clarence Thomas, what his writings for the
it was his opinion for the majority.
That's what was awesome. So. And Bruen actually, what it did was extended your right to carry a gun outside the home for self-defense. Yep. Right, because Heller was actually just to have a gun in your home for self-defense.
And it primarily affected D.C., although they extended it beyond. But really, the decision of D.C. versus Heller was just that D.C., that 10 by 10 square mile of federal domain, and it didn't really translate, not like Bruen did. Bruen, that just cemented it.
So Clay, why don't you, if nobody knows, why don't you tell everybody why you think Bruen is that significant and why it's overturning all these other gun control laws?
Well, because you just referenced a little bit of it. Clarence Thomas with his decision. I mean, he went back and talked. What's that?
Claire Dog.
Yeah. He went in there and just basically fortified the idea that traditional use and historical use of firearms. He laid it all out, and then if it doesn't fall within that realm, then the states can't take that right away because it's a fundamental right. Yep. And you cannot come in and say, well, like we just saw in Oregon, she was mad, right? She just wanted to, I'm just going to be queen of Oregon, or not Oregon, sorry, New Mexico.
New Mexico, you mean.
All them commie states.
LoJack Grisham.
Yeah, LoJack Grisham. Yep. That's right. Remember you nicknamed her. Anyway, and basically they want to be dictators. Yep. And they want to dissolve the Second Amendment. Well, again, this goes back. Bruen says no. Even the Democrats, Naomi and I were chatting about this a little bit earlier before we got on air here. Even Democrats realized how wrong she was, and they couldn't do this. I think that's why.
I don't think they disagree with it. I think they're just triangulating behind the scenes, and they're just trying to make themselves look reasonable. But I don't trust Democrats. I think they're always snaking around to do something.
I don't trust them. I think that they understand that they can't get behind her on this.
Yeah.
Even though they'd love to.
Politically, they know it's a political loser. That's why. Because Democrats are great politicians. I'll give them that, if nothing else. But
they're good at what they do. I mean, as far as destroying things. But yeah.
Speaking a little more on old Kevin Bruen here, he actually resigned October 19th. I think I didn't look too far more in, but I think a lot of it was because of this. So because of the Bruen decision. And one thing I noticed, like Clay, when you said everything has to fall within the traditions of gun control. Now, the debate they're going back to, Democrats are trying to use this one, was do you go back to 1791 when the Second Amendment was ratified, or to 1868 when the 14th Amendment incorporated the Second Amendment to every state? Because they know that within that time frame, they know some gun control was around for over 100 years, and almost 100 years, and they can use that as, see, look, you can ban this. And but I was reading some stuff about it. The framers actually encouraged people that they'd take their guns to church and they'd set their guns there. I didn't see, well, schools weren't that big of. I mean, they did have schools there, but not everywhere like now. But I didn't see any references to schools really. But I did see the one place that like their state capitals or whatever, where legislatures were in session. They did. That was one place that I did notice that they barred firearms from being there, which I'm not in favor of that. I think you can take it anywhere you want, but
some of them barred them, but others, even back then, they kind of did it just as a courtesy, kind of like church. They lean them outside along the church building, more of a courtesy. I don't know. There was no rule against it. They just did it. Kind of like when you go in the building, you take your hat off, kind of thing. So some legislatures, and today we have it right now. You can't walk in with a firearm in our state capitol, unfortunately.
Yep.
Well, they had it. You could in Michigan for a while until those everybody says these guys were Trump people. They weren't. They hated Trump. If you actually read their stuff, who they planned on kidnapping Gretchen Whitmer, but they changed it after that. But
wow,
even in South Dakota, North Dakota, both we've tried to get that. If you have a concealed carry permit, then you should be able to do it. I mean, you think about this. You go through the concealed carry permit, particularly in North Dakota.
Mm-hmm.
You got a pretty extensive background check because it can serve as your background check for your 4473 form. Yep. And yet I can't go to the Capitol. I'm not the problem. I'm not the guy you got to worry about. I'm pretty sure the criminal, as you said in one of your quotes on Facebook, that the criminal is the criminal. They don't care. They don't.
You know what's funny is people that commit gun violence crimes, 93%.
Wait. Guns don't create violence.
No,
There's no such thing as gun violence.
Crime
no,
with a
for
gun.
sure. Yeah, for sure.
Crime with a gun.
But
there you go.
93% of people that commit not gun violence, but you know what I mean.
Crime with a gun.
Yeah, crime with a gun.
See, there's the generation gap there.
Yeah. But they are doing them illegally anyways. So I don't know what creating these laws. Even the New Mexico governor came out and said that she doesn't think that having a ban on the guns or whatever is going to stop the criminals from obtaining them. So I'm like, so you're just taking them away from citizens that are following the law. Like what? There's no logic behind that.
You're taking away from law-abiding people already. Yep. And to me, the law-abiding people, and that's been proven. John Lott Jr., I'm sure you've read some of his stuff. That guy is a genius. He's broke down the numbers. Yep. He's proven that where people are carrying, less crime occurs because they're not. It's not a soft target anymore, or they can prevent it by pulling their service firearm or the concealed firearm, whatever it might be. It's just a proven fact that it does stop and detour the kind of gun crimes that you're seeing. It just does.
Clay, we're 24 after. I'm gonna do a commercial and come back, and we got some comments piling up here. Let's hit on them.
Sounds good.
All right.
Lauer Auto Repair. They're located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota, or give them a call at 701-258-6308. The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can tackle any problem your vehicle is having, and when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with the Pro Second Amendment America First Repair Shop. There's plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area, but why take the chance of patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake, Lauer Auto is your Pro Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them you heard they're a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our Pro Second Amendment, Pro North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308, located at 309 South Washington Street, Bismarck, North Dakota.
Hey, there it is, right there. Lauer Auto Repair, founding sponsor of ours. Well, we can't thank them guys enough. So, we got quite a few comments. I'm going to start off with Zach Meyer. Hey, Zach, let me know. I think you got your sweatshirt. Thank you for the purchase.
Hey, thanks, Zach.
For Perez.
I tell you what, man, we'd be a lot better off than we are with the guy in there, I promise you.
I told you what position I want.
Yeah, I got you.
President, and it isn't vice president, guys. All right, I'm going to go back through a few of these. We had quite a few come in. DJ Doug Thompson, he comes in, he says, so do you think they'll ever get that New Mexico scum impeached? I doubt it.
Nope.
You don't think so?
Nope. House and Senate is controlled by Democrats.
It won't happen.
I'm interested to see if anyone's going to have pushback against her because I would be shocked.
They'll put up a front of pushback just like with the Democrats.
Like the purple districts out of Democrats, and they'll be like, "We'll never get in, but you can act like you want her out."
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, New Mexico's pretty much been Californiized. I mean, a lot of
Yeah.
them people moved out there. It's happening in Texas. It's happening all along those states. We're seeing it here, guys. I hate every time I drive down the road when I'm traveling, I see more and more California plates out here.
Yep.
With U-Hauls, that's not a good thing. I
know.
I always say we need to build a wall. I like walls. They work. And then I'm the guy that decides who gets to come in.
I know. You know what's funny too is California for a while had a law. I think they just revoked it, but they had a law that prevented anyone that lived in California from going to any states that had any anti-LGBTQ plus laws.
Yeah,
so
they
like,
did. Yeah, they did do that. Yeah.
I'm like, you guys can stay out. That's okay.
Yeah.
We don't want you here. Lynette, she's got in here. She says, and that's back to when we were talking about. She's Democrats stick together and Republicans are always fighting each other. There's very much a lot of truth in that, and I can tell you why.
Yeah.
The Democrats, they don't care how far left and how far off they go off the cliff. They do stick together. Republicans, there are different factions. We've got the rhinos, which pretty much are within our own North Dakota legislature. We've got the actual constitutionalists. You've got your diehard, conservative constitutionalists. And I mean, then you've even got a farther right wing of it. You truly do. Where basically throw everything out. Jamie and you just had that discussion today with a guy. He didn't care. Nope, not going to compromise no matter what. Just sink the ship. And then you're left with nothing. But we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into
that. Vance has on here, 25-year plus minister. I carry in church and I carry when preaching. And I know
that.
Because Vance, I met him because Vance used to live up here. And then he moved back down to the south.
Well, we got a bumper sticker for that, don't we, Clay?
Yes, we do. But I don't know if I have that loaded up.
I'm going to have to get you one of those, Naomi.
Yeah, yes, please.
I do. Here it is.
Okay, here it is.
Right there. And Jesus said, if you don't have an AR-15, sell your garments and buy one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, granted, the wording's a little different. I'm sure you're familiar with that one. But it's just, you want to tweak a bunch of people on both the left and the right? Just go ahead and put that on.
My oldest daughter got a little tweaked about it. And I go, it's a New Testament for that song. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, that's so funny.
Hey, DJ, I did not know this. He said in there that South Dakota is supposed to now be able to carry. You just need to let the Capitol Police know. That's good to know. I didn't know they made that change, Doug. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
What's one shot say here? He goes, Democrat politicians can go to work in their pajamas now. I heard them.
It's ridiculous. It's like there's supposed to be a standard. These people are supposed to be representing us, the United States, and you want to go in your pajamas? I'm like, what are you doing?
Fetterman. It's all for Fetterman. No brain Fetterman.
I know.
Hey, Matt thinks you're right, Jamie.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you.
That's DJ say here. We'll just run through these.
Hey, Matt, you're 100% full of common sense too, and on top of being an intelligent and very, very attractive man.
There you go. Hey, Matt, meet Naomi. Naomi, meet Matt. There we go, Matt. There we go. Matt, trust me, Matt is the constitutionalist. You'll love him.
Good dude. Matt's a good dude for sure.
So, Guns in the 7-1, not just a Second Amendment platform, but a dating site. Right? So there we go. All right. So DJ says the AG, Attorney General, and the Sheriff are supporting it. I'm glad to hear that down there in South Dakota. Now we just need to get the word up here. That's Zach Meyer, 40 below will decide. Zach, I used to think that, but I tell you what, I see a lot of them guys coming here and they don't care how cold it gets anymore, but most of them are inside.
Hey man, I tell you what, it gets 40 below Minneapolis. That's full of leftists. So didn't chase them out. Detroit, no.
Republicans will let one bad board sink the ship. You're right. There you go. That's a good way to put it. Davis, nice to have you here. Davis, again, thanks for the accommodations while we were down at the Trump rally. If you're looking for a great place, you're going to get a free plug here, Davis. Looking for a great place to stay, it's the Holiday Inn and Suites down there on the south of Rapid City out there by the Loop. Can't miss it. Ask for Davis. He'll hook you up. That's the Holiday Inn and Suites down in Rapid City, South Dakota. The South place. It's, I don't remember the name. I think it's something like Medical Drive or something out there by all the hospital stuff. So if you need more information, Guns in the 701, just hit us up on our email. I'll get you all the info. You got a free plug, Davis.
Awesome.
Fetterman is shaved down Sasquatch. Joke gone bad.
Fetterman's a what, is he?
He says Fetterman's a shaved down Sasquatch. joke.
Kevin
Awesome.
Kevin lives in Pennsylvania,
Yes.
Naomi. So
Gotcha.
We got
unfortunately,
Pennsylvania, we got
yeah.
Georgia, North and South Dakota.
Yeah,
Got
that's
everybody on there
wild.
tonight.
Great.
Man, that used to be like blue. Pennsylvania was always like known when I was growing up as like blue collar, like these hardworking people,
Yeah.
and now they're electing just freaks, leftist freaks. I mean,
Kevin, I heard the bad news about the special election. The Republicans did not retake your legislature. I think they own the Senate still by 5 votes, but the House of Representatives is still in the hands.
How close
of
was
the
that?
Democrat.
How close was that?
I didn't look at the difference in the votes as far as between the Republican. It's something like 28%. I think
they're done.
29%.
I mean, that's where the country started, and these people vote for representatives and senators who actually hate the country. That's where it started.
Her district is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's in that district, and Pittsburgh is like every other shithole city. They
wrap that towel around your head, Pittsburgh.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I don't look for you and I have discussed this earlier on an episode. You can't count on Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is not the hinging state out of the 6. We just need to win one, and I still think it's Arizona. But.
Arizona is definitely more winnable than Pennsylvania.
Absolutely.
Pennsylvania, in my mind, is about gone. So,
yep. Doug, that was for New Mexico impeachment and the sheriff and AG. So, okay, gotcha. He was talking about New Mexico's. South Dakota supposedly happened when Noam took office. It's still kind of a pain, though, I guess. Yeah, and I've discussed Noam a lot on this. Second Amendment, guys, she's solid. I'm not worried about Christy Knowles' stance on the Second Amendment. I know Christy, and she used to come to the NRA events where they we can call her up when we're friends. But I can tell you right now, though, in the House of Representatives, she was a do-nothing representative. She was only there 1 term, did her 2 years, came back and become governor. As a governor, she hasn't been a total disaster.
Right.
But she's not the conservative you all think she is. Just trust me on that.
Yeah.
Call for more info.
Well, she's a good phony then because she punches women and men's sports in the face, or men and women's sports, and
like I said, she's
hates
not horrible.
Warrior stuff, and
I mean,
I don't know what you're gonna get better, man.
She's 10 to 100 times better than Burgum.
She beat him in arm wrestling for sure. Yeah, who's a better roper, you think, her or Doug Burgum?
I'm pretty sure it's her. I think she could kick his ass, tell you.
Probably.
Cage match.
She's buff, man. Christy Knowles, she does some kind of working out that she looks.
And I know a lot of
people,
walnuts in her going down a different rabbit hole, but I know a lot of people talk about her as a vice presidential choice for Trump. I'm sure she's on the list, but I can tell you right now, and I've told everybody why. There's no reason for him to pick her because South Dakota is going Trump. Plain and simple. Yeah. He needs to have somebody from one of them 6 states to try and pull those electorals. Yeah. That's politics. I've been doing this since I was in high school. I can tell you right now, the smart money would be to find somebody of her caliber if they can find her. Now, that's yet to be seen. So we'll see. It's a long ways.
Knowing how people are these days, Clay, and these swing states that we need, I think there's enough male voters in Pennsylvania that think Christy Noam is so hot that they would vote and put Trump Noam over the top in that state. I'm serious.
And Eric just said this, and I'll give you a great example. She got in because she's easy on the eyes.
Oh my gosh.
There is a lot to that. Stephanie Herseth
ran
in South Dakota. She was a carpetbagger. She moved back from where she was at out on the East Coast. She come back out here, ran in South Dakota, and won because she was an attractive woman. She really had no policy. She said nothing. That's the only reason she won.
That's true.
Yeah. And when I talk to people, I'm like, why did you vote for her? Oh, man, she's hot. Like,
look at Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom is his twisted brain and logic, in my opinion, but he's an attractive man. You know, I'm confident.
Speaking of an attractive man, Matt says hi, Naomi. I love it. I love it. Matthew Simon, Martha Bismarck. Yeah, there you go. Anyway,
all right. So let's get into this Measure 114 in Oregon, shall we?
So do you know what Measure 114 is, Naomi?
Yeah. So I was looking into it. I think like a big difference that I'm seeing between like the other court cases with the Second Amendment versus this one is not. It's the shall issue versus the may issue, because the shall issue does not discriminate from people from getting the license, but the may issue does. So with this shall issue, I think it's legally, compared to the other court cases, it's fine in that regard. But what's happening, in my opinion, is that they have so many obstacles in place to get a gun that it's unconstitutional in that regard, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Everything. So let's go through a few things here. What they have, what's in this measure 14.
Yeah.
Just to give a little background quickly, it was narrowly approved by voters last November, and I can tell you, there was like 6 districts that voted that put up like around Portland and these other big leftists. The rest of the state voted against it. So the big cities, again, the tail's wagging the dog here. Mm-hmm. The measure's contentious edicts have yet to really be enforced, though a federal judge declined to issue a temporary restraining order halting enforcement of the measure's ban on large capacity magazines. Gun owners have seen more success in legal challenges filed in the state court, which kept the mag ban and new permit to purchase scheme from taking effect until the issue is finally decided. Well, guess what? That day's coming right now here in this Harney County, Oregon. And the judge here was Robert Raschico. Raschico? Is that how R-A-S-C-H? I don't know how you pronounce that. I don't know
names today I can't pronounce.
And I don't know who appointed him. I didn't look into none of that stuff. But here's some of the stuff that measure 114 is going to require. For Oregonians to obtain a permit to purchase a gun, applicants must pay a $65 fee, submit photo ID, be fingerprinted, pass a background check, and complete approved safety training. Police chiefs, county sheriffs, or their designees are the permit agents under the measure and would have 30 days to issue a permit. So like Naomi was saying, this is going to be, let me think about giving you that or not here. I'll let you know in 30 days. If you get it, to renew it, it'd be another 50. So this is like a poll tax to me, right? When you're paying for your permit, you got to pay to exercise your civil right. State police are required to maintain a searchable electronic database of permits and report permit data. The sale and transfer of firearms to a person without a permit would be a Class A misdemeanor under the law and could be a felony for a repeated offense. Measure 14 also prohibited the manufacturing, importing, purchasing, selling, possessing, using, or transferring of magazines capable of holding the magic number of 10 rounds, which is a magical number to the Democrats. Apparently, you can't kill people with 10 rounds except in the high school down in Florida, where that scumbag went in there and murdered 17 people and wounded 20 more with 10-round magazines in his evil AR-15 rifle. Yep. The restrictions were supposed to go into effect 180 days after the law's passage. Oh, we got even more here. Oh, whoa, this is sweet. I always love this, too. Law enforcement and armed service members, the only ones, were exempt, in addition to those who already owned or inherited the magazines for use on their property, at shooting ranges or competitions, for hunting, or while transporting them to a permissible location. So Oregon, we got the Tifa gang there and BLM burning down the city, beating the hell out of people. I mean, if you ever look at Andy Knowles videos on X, Antifa's pretty much running freaking Portland, doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
And was that where they had that non-autonomous zone or whatever it was? Was that?
That was Seattle. They had that in Seattle and Oregon, and I mean, they took over like police stations there. I mean,
can you imagine if we'd have done that?
Oh, Christ.
Oh, my goodness. The mega rebel tyrants are out there. We better send in the guard and everybody and bomb them.
So we talked about Bruen, right, you guys? And in order for something to pass legal muster, constitutional muster here, it has to go into with the traditions of gun control over the year or since the ratification, right, in 17. So we talked about magazine capacity bans. I'm pretty sure that's not going to pass.
Yeah, I don't see why that's even in there. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, why?
I don't remember anywhere reading or seeing or hearing anything about the founders and framers talking about a permit to purchase a firearm. I mean, they built most of their own damn guns back then.
Well, right. Think about where all the gun companies were created. Right down they're on the East Coast. Massachusetts,
Gun Valley over there.
Gun Valley along.
Yeah, and. I mean, all of these things they got for this ridiculous Measure 114 permit to purchase magazine ban. None of this stuff. There's no way this passes constitutional muster of Bruen. There's no way. There's none of this stuff is. I mean, the longest we've had a magazine ban federally, Clay, was was 94 to 2004, right?
Yep.
I mean, it would have been forever if it wasn't for them compromising weak-spined NRA folks.
Yeah, if it wouldn't have been for the gun control advocates of the NRA. Isn't that what we were told today? Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, that's coming up, guys. Stay tuned. That's coming up.
Cody,
I hope you're listening.
Warming up in the bullpen here. But, so they mentioned here too, Naomi, like we said, they're going to try and bring this back here to the ratification 1791 or maybe 1868, which even if they go to 1868, any gun control laws then were basically racist against black people, so they could keep them from owning firearms, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you ever watched anything from Coleon Noir, that guy's awesome. I mean, he puts that together perfectly, how all gun control is racist. This Judge Rashino, he's already ruled in favor, of course, of granting a restraining order, and they're going to take this thing to court, and hopefully it gets overturned here. Rashino said he will focus on the text of the measure as it applies to Article 1, Section 27 of Oregon. I mean, I don't know if you guys want me to read this thing. I'll just read a little part of it here. It's Article 1, Section 27 of the state constitution, which Naomi was saying state constitutions are actually, our state constitution is actually better than the Second Amendment.
Yeah, North Dakota has a better one, actually, yeah.
So Oregon states the people shall have the right to bear arms for the defense of themselves and the state, but the military shall be kept in strict subordination to the civil power. What? They're different? I thought gun rights was the National Guard.
That's right.
So that Constitution doesn't even sniff how good compare. Ours is way better here in North Dakota than that. But I mean, and of course the judge says the question is whether or not Measure 114 is facially constitutional under the Oregon Constitution, which I seriously doubt it is.
Yeah.
Unless this guy totally changes his mind, which it doesn't sound like he's gonna. Yeah. And he said he doesn't want any arguments from the, where the heck was that? From the
state, basically it's in Arnold versus Kotek, I believe.
Trying to use emotional appeals, like if it saves one life kind of thing.
And he did. He said he made it very clear when he was ruling on this in favor of the plaintiffs. He said, I want to make this clear that he's not interested in hearing the state to try and justify new restrictions through emotional appeals. I mean, he made that really, really clear. So
that's awesome.
He's sending a big message. The state better come with some really good facts based in factual information, or he's going to rule against them again, and he's going to rule.
Which
in favor.
Naomi, correct me if I'm wrong here, but didn't Bruen? The gun cases used to have what they call it, I want to say a double standard, but that's not what they called it when they were making rulings on Second Amendment and gun control stuff. Strict scrutiny is what they called it.
Yeah,
and it was almost more. It was a more strict scrutiny, as they called it, to make it. They appealed emotionally, like, why we think this law. I mean, it might be unconstitutional, but man, it's going to save a bunch of lives, which it didn't. And Clarence Thomas said that in there, right? He said there's not going to be the Second Amendment's not a second-class civil right. It's just as important as the First Amendment. Yeah. No more of this double scrutiny stuff, right?
You know, one thing I don't understand too is like if we look at all of the states, that have like a lot of gun violence, even if you enact these gun crimes.
I was letting you slide, but go ahead.
All right. Listen, I'm correcting myself. I'm learning already.
We'll get you trained. It's like it's illegal alien, not migrant.
Yeah.
Illegal alien. Yeah. Gun crime. Yeah, we'll get you trained.
Yeah.
We'll get you trained.
But even enacting all of these laws to try to prevent gun crime, they don't work. So I don't even know like why at this point people are even trying to enact laws when it clearly shows throughout history it just does not work.
Right. So I can tell you why.
Why? Why do you think?
Because they just don't want you having guns. Because I mean, there's always, like I said, I'm not sure that the boogaloo is ever going to happen, but there's always the chance, and they know that. But when we don't have guns, there's no chance of that happening, and they will do whatever the hell they want.
Well, and I guess I look at it like this, and I've been saying this. One of my favorite terms, Jamie, is what commies, right? This isn't a joke anymore. As far as I'm concerned, the Democrat National Committee is the Democrat National Communist Party today. They have been taken over by we went way beyond socialism at this point.
Yeah, you had your thing there in the beginning,
What's
should have
that?
been a blue pig, actually, not a red one.
A blue one, yeah, it should.
Funny.
But getting back to that this is about control. It's just like China virus and the whole masking and all this.
Yeah.
It was about conforming, control, and what was my third one now? I always forget now. Darn it.
Oh, you're like
Compliance.
Rick. You're like the governor of Texas there,
Yeah.
Rick.
Compliance, control,
Perry.
or
Yeah.
compliance, conformity, and control in that order. And that's what this is about. They
Yeah.
can't take control of a populace if it's armed. Every single nation that's went down this road, what's the first thing they try to do? Except they don't have a constitution or a rebellious populace.
Yeah.
Try to disarm the people. Ask the Jews how that turned out in
Yep.
Germany.
Yep.
Not so good. Even across
Well, you know what
Poland
they'll
and
say to
through
you
there.
on that one, Clay.
What's that?
Well, they tried to fight back in the ghettos of Warsaw, and they just all died. So, but I'm like, well, yeah, okay. They held the Wehrmacht back for like 30 days with their own guns. And guess what? If I'm gonna get killed anyways, you damn right I want to get me some before they're gonna get me, and that's exactly what they did
Yeah.
for
And that's
30
where-
days against the most powerful army in the world at the time.
Yeah.
I think that I really do think that the other side, they made China by 2020 was their move. I mean, that was, I thought it was a trial run, but it was the move.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see it recirculate like again in different aspects. I mean, we've been hit so much in the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah.
They're not going to quit, but I think they underestimated us. We
Yeah.
the people out here
Yeah.
in flyover country. We didn't comply.
We're doing
I
some
am
good
per-
pushback for sure. I like it, man.
We did. And we're organizing. They don't like that. That's why they're trying to classify us as terrorists. Under Homeland
MVEs.
Security.
MVEs.
MVEs. Yeah, MVEs right there in the Homeland Security documents.
All right, we're 10 to 8.
Yeah,
we're
wow.
gonna do our double ad here, and then when we
Get back
come
then.
back, Clay, we're gonna
Let's
hit
some
into
comments.
we'll hit
There's
the
a
comments.
bunch.
Then we're gonna do some 2A bullet points, and then Clay's gonna tell us what a bunch of spineless, gutless organization the NRA is. So hang tight in there, Cody. I hope you're listening, buddy. And if you are, I want to see some comments here in the comment section, buddy. Don't get mad. We're just having a little. We're having some fun with you, but we're still taking our jobs.
We got to fix your background, Naomi. Get you something cool back there.
Yeah, we do.
I know. I'm working on it.
All right. Hey, if you don't like the NRA.
Nasty person.
All right, here we go.
Nice.
We're going to do our
Love it.
double out here. Thank you, President Trump.
Lauer Auto Repair. They're located at 309 South Washington Street in Bismarck, North Dakota, or give them a call at 701-258-6308. The team of mechanics at Lauer Auto can tackle any problem your vehicle is having. And when you do business with Lauer, you can be assured you're doing business with the Pro-Second Amendment America First Repair Shop. There's plenty of other auto repair shops in the Bismarck-Mandan area, but why take the chance of patronizing a shop that might not have your beliefs at heart? Make no mistake, Lauer Auto is your Pro-Second Amendment repair shop. When you talk to the guys at Lauer Auto, don't forget to tell them you heard they're a sponsor of Guns and the 701 and that you appreciate their support of our Pro-Second Amendment, Pro-North Dakota live stream and podcast. That's Lauer Auto Repair, 701-258-6308, located at 309 South Washington Street, Bismarck, North Dakota.
Guns and the 701 is sponsored by the Blind Guy of North Dakota. For all your custom window coverings, you can contact them at 701-222-3932. They're freedom-minded, they're patriotic, and they love the Second Amendment. This husband-wife team was born and raised right here in North Dakota and based out of Bismarck. Again, for your Second Amendment company, for all your custom window coverings, the Blind Guy of North Dakota, 701-222-3932, or visit them on the web at blindguynd.com. All right. Yeah, and thanks again to Lauer Auto Repair down there on South Washington Street, 309 South Washington Street, right there in Bismarck, 701-258-6308. And the Blind Guy of North Dakota, guys, hit, I believe the website is blindguynd.com. Wyatt and his wife will get you just set up with any kind of blind you need.
And if you
Blind
go
Guy
in there
ND.
and if you patronize those businesses, Clayton, what do you want to tell them?
Tell them you heard it right here on Guns and the 701, and you appreciate them as they support freedom and our way of life.
Absolutely.
So
Awesome.
one quick thing, Naomi, if you need a banner, you got to hit up this guy. His name is Rick.
Yeah.
Signs and
I'm going
Wonders.
to take a picture of that. Keep it up.
Rick's a true American patriot. I think his daughter's in the army actually too.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
If you go in there and you tell him you know me and Jamie, he'll set you up. Trust me.
Oh yeah.
Sweet.
He's been on board with us since day one when we first started this.
Oh, that's so great.
Banners Clay and I got back here. He made our decals, and Rick's awesome, man.
Made one. I'm gonna get a few of these comments here. So Kevin, he chimed in and said none of that special election was in my district. My district's red, and you got the same problem out there in PA that most of our state does. In the United States, all the states got those heavy urban areas that go blue. And it's going to be our downfall eventually. I've always said
Fetterman.
We need to go to an electoral system just like we got for the presidency. That would solve some of this.
Me and Clay have said that, right? Every county should count as an electoral vote for whatever number we settle on. But
I think we could make that. That would make it even more fair, and then those urban areas can't take over.
Love it. Perfect.
Eric says that she claims to be a cowgirl because she rides a horse. You're talking about Governor Noam at the Buffalo Roundup. She gets all dressed up. Show the guys gawk at her because of her womanhood is bouncing up the gate of the horse.
I'm just telling you, it works. See, it works.
But I can tell you, Eric, as far as her riding abilities and her rodeo skills, they're real. She hasn't done it for many years. She's older than I am, but I can tell you that she can swing a rope and she can ride a horse.
She shoots. I've seen her at the long range company down there. A gun builder made her a long range rifle. She went elk hunting and she hunts deer and blasts pheasants. That's what I'm saying, man. Most governors don't do that crap.
No, they don't. Gene, he's chimed in. He's joining us. We're glad to have speaking of Gene, he says, I think the writers of the Constitution just got back from a deer hunting trip. Love it. Gene. That's great insight.
He's got some good content. Gene's always got good stuff.
One more line.
one more, man. That's all we need, and then that's it. It's perfect. Everything will be.
In fact, Signs and Wonders made a banner just like this for us, and they pounded that out pretty fast for us, so we get it to Gene for their first gun show down there in Mobridge. It sounds like it went really, really well. So
sold out.
That's awesome. Perfect.
I mean, tickets. They didn't sell out. The tickets sold out.
No, tickets sold out. No, I think they had plenty of things.
All right, Clay, you go with these comments. You got some
Vance
more
Bishop, he's got in here. I was looking at a message. Republicans are as much a problem as the Dems when they spend more time fighting with each other and not standing up against the commie Dems. Well, and we're seeing this fight. So right now, this fight, we're going to touch on this just very quickly in Congress with the continuing resolution, which we shouldn't have a continuing pass a budget. That's your job. That is your job in the House of Representatives. That is your job to pass a budget. Yeah. And I'm with the Freedom Caucus. 8%, really? It's not an 8% cut, guys. It's an 8% of increase of spending. Yeah. They're just going to do 8% less than off the 100% that they're whatever they're going to do. Yeah. No. And there should be no more money for Ukraine, no more money for wokeness. No. Get our military back to protecting.
I know.
There's a slew of things in there. So, yes, I stand with them guys. They're doing their job. By the way, I called Armstrong's office. Yeah, he's just talking to his little person that answers his calls. He's going to give him more money.
How do you know they weren't big?
They might be.
True.
They might be. Anyway, I imagine Alfred E. Newman down there in South Dakota, he's probably going to vote for it too. There, Dusty Johnson. So, guys, if you don't know, I know you're younger than us, Naomi, but look up Mad Magazine. Alfred E. Newman, you'll love it. It's Dusty Johnson to the T. Anyway,
okay, cool. Says,
talking to a guy I work with, you can talk away all the guns in the world, and violence will still. Take away all the guns in the world, and violence will still exist. The sick, weak-hearted will still commit violence with whatever. Exactly. And we made a T-shirt for Todd Mitchell about this, and it was fun. But it's a rock, and it says the first assault weapon.
The original.
The original assault weapon. It's a rock, although I added a little buttstock to it.
Yeah.
Extended magazine.
30-round assault clip.
Yep. We had some fun with that one. But rocks, sticks, whatever. People who are they're going to do evil things because there's evil people in the world.
I mean, genocides were committed with bow and arrows and swords. So
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Anybody naive enough to think it would never get back to that point is, I mean, in the 70s, year of the machete was a book. 800,000. I can't remember what province in Africa. They murdered 800,000 people in the Civil War in one country there in 1 year, just with machetes.
Oh my
just with
gosh.
machetes. Yeah, brutal. That'd be brutal.
brutal. Gene says he's going to try to get more tables in that room, so that's good to hear at the gun show. Vance Bishop, I love this. I want my F-35 that I paid for. Me too. I would.
Yeah.
Really? They lose an F-35? Are you kidding me?
But they're going to lecture us about how we're not responsible enough to own AR-15s.
I think they did find
lose
it
an
finally,
$80 million fighter jet.
No.
Yeah, I don't believe for a minute. There's something funny about
UFOs
that.
got it.
UFOs got it. Shot it down.
Tractor beam.
Yeah, right.
Gene Cox says we're at 33 trillion debt, almost got rid of energy independence. Yeah, and Joe is partnering with China to fight climate change and big old smile. Exactly. This is where we're at now. These are the things that are on Sleepy Joe's mind.
Come on, man. Gene, you want to do some push-ups, man?
He'll fall over on his bike and hit his head with his helmet. Eric Newman says that makes my last name look bad, Alfred E. Newman. Nothing like Alfred E. Newman.
I'm going to just start calling Eric Snake Plissken. Can I do that? Because
there we go.
monkeying around with them
Snake
snakes.
Name, do you know what we're talking about there? Snake Plissken.
Escape from New York and Escape from L.A. All right.
Go find that.
I'll Google it.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell, you'll love it.
They're good movies if you ever got time to sit down and watch.
Yep.
Snakes, snake that takes no ass from the government.
From anybody,
but they got them doing something.
I love that. I won't tell you the ending, but you'll love the ending of Escape from L.A.
Yeah,
I kind of long for that.
Probably one of the best endings of every movie.
Hit that button.
Yeah, if anything, skip to the last 15 minutes of that one. It's Kurt Russell. If you don't know, in real life, Kurt Russell's a Republican, so he's
conservative,
pretty conservative. Actually.
Yeah, that's a lot like us. Gene Cox, Plissken, classic.
Call me Snake.
Oh, call me Snake.
All right, Clayton.
What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, we're gonna skip back to.
We can give you Whole Array, Uncle Buck, Caddyshack. We got Police Academy. There are some great movies from the 80s.
My daughters loved Uncle Buck. We watched it last winter. They loved, especially my youngest.
Hey, Bug, I have something for you. Grab the axe out of the car. Yeah.
My youngest is like hates Bug, and I'm like, there you go, T. You know what a scumbag looks like. Just keep that in mind when you start dating, honey.
Oh, I'm glad I got boys. I do not envy you at all, Jamie. You've got 2 girls. I got 2 boys, so I'm good. Blazing Saddles. There now we're
all right. I'll add that to the list.
You've never seen Blazing Saddles?
Oh man.
Oh my.
No, I'm sorry.
You've got to see Blazing Saddles. I mean, that is. You talk about. Today, that movie could never be made today.
No.
Well, now I'm going to watch it tonight.
Do it. I highly recommend Blazing Saddles. I know you're gonna love it. The toll booth is pretty funny too, isn't it, Jamie? Out there in the old
that
West.
one I never saw.
You never saw Blazing Saddles? Oh my god!
Yeah, well, you said the toll booth.
Well, yeah, they're
in Blazing Saddles. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about a movie.
No, in Blazing Saddles because it's a Western. It just makes no sense.
Paula says, whatever do you mean?
Naomi.
Thanks,
I know.
Paula.
We're not letting
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
So
thanks, Mom. That's my mom, actually.
Oh.
And I want to give you some. Is there anything you want to add to what we were talking about as far as the Oregon thing, Naomi?
I mean, I just think it's weird that they're trying to. I think a lot of guns that people buy they buy private. So I don't know why they would try to create a federal regulation to infringe upon private businesses to get those people registered with the federal government. I just don't see why that just doesn't make sense. Like the only thing I could see would be background checks to keep guns out of felons' hands. But even then, I'm like, if there's a felon that committed like fraud, I think they have the right to own a gun versus someone that went and like was a mass shooter or whatever.
Think of this, so Naomi, of all the mass shooters, every one of them guys passed background checks.
Every one of them.
Really?
Yeah, every one of them.
I know people always, I'm for the background check, the NICS system. But like Jamie just said, every one of them passed that.
I mean, it's a good idea. It's a good theory.
It don't work though.
Right.
It just don't work.
That's and so like
criminals are criminals. Why? Because they commit crime.
Yeah, right.
So they'll just go steal it if they can't get it legally.
But and like I said, the 10-round mags. So you remember the shooting of Virginia Tech with Cho, right?
Yeah.
2 pistols he used, 10-round magazines in both of them, a 22 and a 9mm, padlock, chain the doors shut. Not only killed 32 people, and I mean, other than that, Paddock in Vegas was the.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Yes, and all them guys pass background checks. So when they always like when they're done, we need to break the bed. We need my background checks and magazine bans. I'm like, it doesn't work, man. And I've number of shows and on the radio more than once. I've made the point of mass shootings that happen with 10 or more deaths and 20 wounded with shotguns or bolt action. I mean, they're using ARs now because ARs are probably damn near the most prominent gun.
Right.
It's America's favorite gun. It is.
It's America's rifle. It's unfortunate that they get used for that, but they're also used to protect people's asses. And there's plenty of stories of kids in houses when their parents are gone using ARs when multiple people come in.
Yeah.
If it saves just one life, well, guess what? More lives are saved every year with people with guns than people that are murdered with them. So.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not trying to preach to you. I'm just.
No. I totally love your perspective on it. Absolutely.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you guys want to move on? Should we move on to 2A BPs here?
Now, why don't you start her off with one?
All right, Clay, you want to save your? All right.
Go for it.
It's 8:00. So usually we do 2. I think I'm going to go 1 because when we get into Clay's, I imagine that's going to go.
I'm going to keep it.
I know you're
going short, but
I know, Clay, but it's a good topic, and then I.
By the way, before you get started, there's Blazing Saddles right there.
Thank you.
Sound pretty handy with this, ain't I?
Yeah. You
are. All right, so here's my 2A bullet point tonight. It's, like I said, I usually got 1 or 2 related to gear, and deer season's coming, fall, pheasant season, right? We got MidwestGunworks.com. They have a page on there called Manufacturer Rebates, and I don't know. I'm sure some people listening know about these, and I'm just going to give you a sample of some of these that they have here. Browning hunting rifle ammo. You can get 20% off hunting rifle ammo, and that's till it started in July 1st. Actually, go till September 30th. You can click on it. That's MidwestGunworks.com, and it's their manufacturer rebates page. You can click on all that. It's usually, I would say, on average, if you buy 2 boxes, you're going to get probably $10 back. I mean, they get 8 to 10. They give you good rebates on that. Browning target, that's 25% off. Winchester targets, 25. FN, Fabrique Nationale, they make pistols, rifles, ARs, all kinds of stuff. You can get $100 rebate on 3 actual virtual pistol training courses, Clay. I've never seen what that is, but
no, I haven't either.
And I guarantee you, me and you probably don't think much of it because we can go shooting anywhere we want.
I was gonna say.
And these people buy in the city, they don't have anywhere to shoot, so that's probably be pretty cool.
No.
Browning's Firearms, they got their $75 rebate when you buy any qualified Browning shotgun, rifle, or pistol. And $75 off. That's a pretty sweet deal, actually, I think.
Oh, I think it's good.
Stevens, it looks like, Stevens. I didn't know Stevens is making over and under shotguns. Now you can get a $50 rebate off of that, off an over and under. FN 5.7, and then they got the pistol and like the bullpup thing. Dougie has that. I shot it. I mean, when it worked, it was fun, but it jammed a lot on us. But you listen to this, so you get a $175 rebate on these things, which is pretty sweet. Taurus TX22, that's a little pistol handgun. Not a Taurus fan. I've had bad luck, but all I've seen about this TX22, it's actually made in Florida and not one in Brazil. I mean, they're supposed to be super reliable, and you get 3 free magazines, and I think depending on where you live, the sucker holds like 16 rounds, so that's a pretty sweet deal. Beretta pistols, $50 to $300 depending on what you get. I mean, you get $300 back. That's awesome, man. And CZ Scorpion, I don't know if you know a CZ Scorpion's like a 9mm carbine kind of thing. Badass looking, looks awesome actually. I love this thing. I'd love to shoot one once. But Dougie, hear that? You need to buy a CZ Scorpion.
There you go.
$100 rebate. CZ shotguns anywhere from 50 to 100. CZ, this Alpha Hunter, it's a rifle. $100 off. Oh, here we go. Bismuth, Federal Bismuth. If you're a duck hunter here, $5 per box. See, that's what I told you. You get 4 boxes, and you get $150 as your maximum rebate you can get. So do your math right there. 5 into 150. That $5 off a box. That's pretty freaking sweet, not?
Heck yeah.
3 Springfield magazines. I mean, there's a whole bunch of them. You can go view all rebated products. I'm not going to go to that whole thing.
Right.
Some people are probably now like, this guy sucks. Shut up. You're boring. But anyway, MidwestGunworks.com. Go there. And like I said, click on the manufacturer rebates and you can find your favorite gun company, ammo company. There's holsters on here, all kinds of stuff. And it'll tell you where to go and what your rebate's going to be on that. So I think that's pretty sweet.
Yeah,
anytime you can save money the way everything freaking costs now, by all means, get after it.
I was going to add the Stevens Arms, and I guess I knew this. Stevens Arms been around a long time. Joshua Stevens, I just kind of looked it up here, 1864 out of Massachusetts.
Wow.
Stevens or Savage Arms actually purchased them. They actually did that in April 1920. They then kind of got rid of the name, but they revived it again in 1991. They still use it today for low-cost rifles and shotguns. So there's a little background history there on Savage Arms and Stevens and how it all came about.
Because Leupold uses the name Stevens for their like lower cost optics and rings, and right?
I'm pretty sure. I really don't know, but I got to put this one up because this came in. Do you see that, Naomi?
Listen, I told you guys my contact information, my pages. All right, he can contact me.
We can make this happen. I mean, I can't think of a better range day date.
Man, that'd be something. Yeah, Dougie, get everything set up, get that steel painted up, and
hey, quick question. Vance wants to know, and before we go into another 2A, what does Naomi think of the strike? And I imagine he's talking about the United Auto Workers. That'd be my guess.
Are you? I'm not honestly sure what that is. I'm not really sure what that. I don't know.
The United Auto Workers strike.
Yeah.
The car manufacturer, the employees, they decided that they're a union, of course, and they're wanting.
Oh, he's talking about SAG. Okay.
Oh, he's okay. I had the wrong one.
What's SAG?
No, you're good.
Okay.
So
I got some of that on my chin, but.
So if you guys don't know, I'm also a part of the Screen Actors Guild. So that's like actors because
Gotcha.
Yeah, because I'm a stunt performer in film. I was in Atlanta for a year. I just moved back to Bismarck, so I'm a part of that guild. That's the reason why I moved back.
Gotcha.
So it's interesting because it's like I understand the performers and the writers wanting to strike because for like fair pay and that kind of stuff, especially with the threat of AI. Totally get it.
Yeah,
but I also think at what point do our rights infringe upon the production's rights to have the best finances they can, so it's at it's sort of balancing, because I think the SAG and writers to a certain degree are being a little bit greedy, but also it's like the production companies can handle it. So it's like, if you want to make both people happy, I don't know where that line is. I think that it's going to be going on until spring at least. I think the biggest threat in my opinion is AI.
Oh, big time. I actually even know about that, and I don't watch many movies anymore of that. But yeah, you're right. AI, I did read some stuff about that, and that's. I mean, not only just the screen actors. I mean, AI is a threat to. That's what I said. In 20 years, we may not even have to worry about Democrat and Republican, because the Terminator is going to be real, and we're all going to be in AI's crosshair.
We've learned anything from movies. This stuff's starting to come true, and I don't like what the future has predicted in the movies. I hope it don't get to that. Getting back to your comment though about are they greedy? Are they not greedy? Can the production can afford it? Can't. Affording it has nothing to do with it. As a guy who's been in business and sold businesses and done, I've been self-employed, worked for other people. I've done it all, it seems like. But I like how Andrew Wilkow, if you haven't heard of him, go look him up. Andrew Wilkow. He's
not in a while. I haven't. Yeah, he's good.
I think he's still got a show on Sirius Radio, but that guy's a really good.
He's out of Chicago, I think, actually.
Yeah, and he always describes it. Labor is something you're selling. You put a price on it. And whoever hires you is your employer, and they have a price, and you negotiate that price, and that's what you go. And that's, I don't think you need a third party to negotiate that. If you don't like what you're getting for your labor, find a different buyer.
Yep.
And right now, it's probably a buyer's market.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
Well, you can get $16 at McDonald's.
Right? It's capitalism. That's how.
Hey, and I appreciate McDonald's being open because I like to eat lunch. So
another commie company, but anyway. But yeah, I always like. I'm not a big fan of unions. Never will be. I got a good friend who's a big union guy. And he just got what I thought of that here the other day.
Oh, Joe.
And I asked him flat out. I was like, why do you think you're worth that? What have you done to prove it? Well, he said, the company made this much this year. I said, so I go, they had a record year this year. So when they have a year where they lose money, can they cut your wage?
Yeah.
Well, no. I go, well, what are you talking about now? You wanted to get your pay increase based on what they made. So if they don't make nothing or they even take a loss, then you should take a loss, right? Merit. I love merit pay.
Yeah.
I like bonuses. Do bonus structures. On a good year, you can give bonuses. On a bad year, you can't. You can keep your employees happy, treat them well. And if they're worth it, I don't believe in across the board increases. I've never believed in a minimum wage. Never will.
There you go. Dougie's got it. We're somewhere between 1984 and the Terminator.
I
agree, Doug.
With that. Oh, that's so funny.
I clicked the wrong one. There it was. Yeah, that's. So anyway, that's my take on unions. I thought they were talking about the United Auto Workers striking.
All right, Clay, let's get to that. Let's get to that.
And I'm only going to do one tonight.
You're wearing.
Oh, you want to do that? Okay, we'll skip.
Yeah, why? What were you going to do?
I was just going to do a quick 2A, but we can save that, honestly.
Yeah, I thought that was your 2A.
No.
Oh, no, dude. Yeah, you're going to do that instead of your Clay's Commie.
So, Montana. We'll go over to Montana.
Yeah, do this. Yeah. No, I like this one. I like this one. Do this.
This just came out September 19th, so this is pretty fresh yesterday. Montana has proposed, the Montana Department of Fish and Wildlife and Parks has proposed a new rule to ban the discharge of firearms in a wide array of places labeled public use sites. Here we go. Terminology, guys.
Mm-hmm.
The proposed rule set is now before the Fish and Wildlife Parks Commission for consideration. So what this is essentially they want to make it so you can't discharge a firearm. Not just a firearm. Here's what I really love. The new rule, and I'm not going to go into the whole numbers of everything here, but here's what it says. Except as posted by the department, discharge of any weapon as defined by 45-2-101 in the Montana laws. They call them the MCA. We call ours codified. South Dakota's codified laws. Ours are I forget even what they call ours in North Dakota.
MCA's from the Beastie Boys, but
MCA's from the Beastie Boys, such as firearms, explosives, air or gas weapons, paintball guns. You love this. The bow hunters are going to be mad. Arrows from a bow, spears or spear guns, or a spear gun in or over land or water is prohibited in public use sites.
Been telling you fudge for years. Get in the game. You're in the crosshairs too, boys.
You want to hear what their definition is of a public use site?
Yes.
A PUS. I'm not going to go with that's what they call it. Yeah, I know what you're thinking, Jamie. Anyway,
I couldn't help it. I'm sorry.
Public use site means fishing access sites, wildlife management areas, wildlife habitat protection areas, state parks affiliated lands. You know what I would wonder is if you entered into something like a plots, would they consider that an affiliated land? Yeah. But anyway, fisheries, conservation areas, and any other lands managed by the Department for Public Use. Well, that pretty much opens it up.
For public use, so it's not really for public use then, is it, Clay?
Yeah.
Not really, is it? No, not if you want to have your rights. Number 2 of this new rule, the possession, display, carrying, discharge, or use of a firearm in public use sites must be in compliance with Title 45, Chapter 8, Part 3, which means you can't do it.
Yeah.
So I like I love what the guy wrote here. And his name here is Leslie Robinson. He's the chair of the commission. He got this sent from the Montana Shooting Sports Association. I can't even talk tonight. Anyway, he sent this and basically is saying, well, here's the problems with this. North Dakota Century Code. Thank you, Dan. It slipped my mind tonight. Number 1, inadequate authority. He's saying, wait, you can't do this because you don't have the authority. Because a firearm discharge ban directly affects the right to keep and bear arms, and the people have reserved that to themselves specifically from government interference. Not only that, Montana's Constitution has enshrined it as well, just like North Dakota's and South Dakota's. So you have that right. We've seen Bruen, that gets mentioned in here too. Furthermore, because of the recent Supreme Court Justice's decision on Bruen, the government entity to sustain such a restriction will require showing historical analogs from the founding era 1791, and it's unlikely that can be accomplished. I love how he starts out with Bruen.
Yeah.
How much have we talked about Bruen since it happened?
Clay, real quick, who appointed them judges?
That would be President Donald J. Trump.
Who endorsed Donald Trump?
I did.
No, the thing on your hat. Who endorsed them?
Oh, the NRA, big time. In fact, it was the first time in the history of the NRA that we came out and actually endorsed a primary candidate in 2015.
So
16.
the guy who nobody said was a conservative appointed judges with the
biggest wins that have
Supreme Court we've had, and is turning over gun control left and right. So why would the NRA endorse a guy for president who compromises away your Second Amendment rights? But it turned out the other way.
That same guy who said that we're going to get into, he don't like Trump either. So anyway. Number 2, the fatal flaw that they mention here. The fatal flaw is it's unenforceable because it makes no exception for legitimate self-defense.
Wow.
That's a good, and he actually in this article, in this letter to them guys said, what happens if a bear attacks you, which in Montana could happen in any kind of a public use site.
More often than ever now, right, Clay? The bear attacks.
Yeah. How many bear attacks have we talked about in the last 3 months?
I mean, and we've not even been talking about them, and I've been reading them, and I'm like, wow, these things are like really picking up here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had them on. Well, we had them on In the Crosshairs. We had
Stay
them
out of their land.
550. Yeah, I mean, basically, bears are a problem.
Show In the Crosshairs.
Yep. And they made a great example is if you get attacked, so do you shoot it and then suffer consequences for discharging your firearm? So
I would.
There is
Yeah.
I would too.
Just use spray.
They also go over that it's overboard. It's infringement. It's a blanket archery and firearm discharge ban is a conflict with hunting and wildlife management areas, which it would be. They name great things in here. The slippery slope, where if the rules adopted, opens the door for future expansion of public use sites, and the existing ban would then spread and become additional constitutional free zones. And I've heard our side start calling constitutional free zone, meaning you're banned from freedom of speech, freedom of religion, Second Amendment, whatever it might be. I just thought this was a great 2A bullet point to put out there, let people know what's happening. Gene asked, did that come out of Missoula? I do not know, Gene. It did not say who actually put this out, other than the fact that it was the Montana Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. So there's a very good chance that's exactly where that originated.
I mean, if there's anywhere that you should be able to exercise all of your constitutional rights, Clay, it's on taxpayer-funded land.
You would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You would think. And I can think of a lot of places that you can't.
Most of them.
Owned.
Yep.
Most of them, man.
So anyway, that's my other two. That's my 2A bullet point for tonight.
I like that. I thought you were going to use the other one with the Busey, but
I was, but
I like that one
instead. It was more local.
All right, so we're at 8:19. Should we? Let's hold off on the commercial. Why don't you do your NRA spiel here?
Well, today I heard a discussion that took place on KFYR. It was between Cody Shue and Daryl, and then I know you jumped in there with a call in the end, which I thought was a really good call. And essentially, Cody, and I've had this discussion with him, get along with Cody just fine, but I'm telling you right now, he has a hatred for the NRA. He thinks the NRA doesn't do anything. They're the ones that they're the biggest gun control organization out there. I mean, he basically said that today.
Well, here to tell you, lunch with Giffords and
supporting all them guys.
Mom's demand confiscation.
Chuck Schumer, the whole clan.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now that as an employee, I'm a top life member. I'm benefactor and whatever that top one is. I've been part of the NRA for a long time, going on 40 years, right? Basically, almost. Probably 38, I guess. I was still in junior high when I joined them as a junior member. Anyway,
nice.
Worked in phone banks for them. Did a lot of things through high school. Was very involved with the NRA. Oh, absolutely right. I can tell you, I even became more of a member after Clinton got in there. Unfortunately, I made a mistake and voted for that commie the first time. Don't even go into that why, but
that's okay.
I come from a family of Democrats, believe it or not.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, he was going on about how the NRA supported the 1934 NFA, that's National Firearms Act, and then they went on to support the 1968 Gun Control Act. And you guys discussed all the way up to 1994. And that's where I knew I was going to talk about this tonight. So 1994, the assault weapons ban is passed. It was going to pass no matter what happened.
Why was that, Clay? Tell everybody why.
The Democrats owned the House and they own the Senate in big majorities. And of course, President Clinton was elected.
Of course, I was in the White House. You all remember that?
Yeah. And they were going to ram this through, and it was a horrible bill. I'm telling you, the original bill, and I still have a copy of it around here, would have banned 1022s, would have banned all semi-autos that we pretty much know of, or restricted them heavily. Basically, nothing more than a 10-round magazine was going to be allowed. It got rid of flash suppressors, folding stocks. I mean, you name it, the gamut of utopian gun control. And
background checks for everything.
Background
waiting
checks
periods
for everything.
Waiting periods.
I mean, this was not a good bill. And the NRA did step in there and started litigating the damage.
10-round mag cap. I don't know if
The biggest thing that NRA accomplished in that particular bill, and I mean, they caught hell and they got called commies, they got called anti-gunners, people quit.
They still
because they came out and eventually supported the bill in the form that got passed. They had no choice. This bill, I'm telling you, was going to pass. Marion Hammer was the president of the NRA at the time, and she caught it for that. But they got a sunset clause in 10 years. That would have never happened without the NRA. The magazines, we could keep them. In the original bill, you had to turn them in.
Wow.
I don't know if anyone knows. You had to turn them in. We got to keep them. So if you had them before, previous to 1994, you could have them. Yeah, it only passed the House by 2 votes, even with a Democrat-controlled House. That's true, Gene.
Wow.
And that mainly was because of the things that NRA actually put in that bill, if I remember right, Gene. I was in high school then when I was working on that with people. I mean, I was kind of involved as much as I could be at that age. But this bill would have been far worse, and it would have never sunsetted. 10 years later, it sunsetted. We had President George Bush in there. He was friendly to the NRA, and we had a different Congress. I mean, we took back the House, for criminy sakes.
Yeah.
And things changed, and it was gone. So let's rewind it then. So all these things that Cody was talking about today, he said, well, we would have never been at the assault weapons ban if we wouldn't have had this and this and this. Well,
first of all, Clay, I'll just real quick comment. Cody said you no compromise 1994. You don't compromise one damn bit. Yep. That was you never compromise. Well, and I countered that with saying, well, going by your stance, we'd still have 10-round mags, neutered AR-15s. We'd all have waiting periods. You know, you'd wait 30 days.
We would have
everything that Clay said they wanted would be in there if you would have took Cody's position and said,
absolutely,
here's my middle finger, sit and spin on it.
If NRA would have walked away from that table and fought it, they could have fought it, and they could have spent a lot of time and money, and it would have not mattered. Yeah. That bill was going to pass in its current form. They had the votes. NRA knew they had the votes. That's why they got involved.
Bill Clinton would have said, "Go out on your ship, and we're going to punch a hole in the hull, and you're going to sink with you can stand on your box and beat your chest, but guess what? You're going to die, and you're not going to get nothing accomplished."
The 10-year sunset was a huge thing. What other bills? There are very few bills that have a sunset.
So what?
You live.
I'm going to play. I'm going to say what else Cody was going to say. Cody's response to me to that was, "Well, all of that would have never ever even came about if it wasn't for the 1934 NFA that the NRA supported."
Yeah. And, he is right when he says that the NRA supported the 1934 NFA. They did. Yep. I don't know if they did as a whole, but the chairman definitely did at that time, who's now been 6 foot under probably for, 50. I mean, that was a long time ago. We're talking just, 90-some years, not quite 90 years. And I can tell you right now that the NFA was a horrible idea. Now, it hasn't changed a whole lot. Now they're trying to redefine it in the ATF of the Biden administration, but that's not law. It's definitely a regulatory thing that should be overturned, but that's a whole nother rat hole that we could go down.
So is there anybody in the NRA now, Clay, that was alive in 1934 in the leadership?
No.
But yet Cody is still blaming and says the NRA is the exact same that they were then, to which I said, white people, do you think we're responsible nowadays because we're white for slavery back in the day?
Ooh.
And he said,
and I thought that was a great point.
I'm just going by your standard, dude. We're responsible for slavery right now. You and I are.
According to what his analogy was, that would be correct.
Which is ridiculous because he said they don't change. They're like the FBI. They got they're ingrained in there, which is ridiculous.
Are you familiar with the NFA, Naomi?
A little bit.
Yeah. Basically, that was after the St. Valentine's Day massacres happened.
Yeah.
And had to do something. And they basically made all machine guns illegal unless you got your $200 tax stamp and you registered it. And there's a whole thing about that. You could still have them. This is a misconception. You could still own them.
SPRs. I don't think they banned machine guns till 86.
And that's right, Gene. I was just going to mention that. FDR threatened to pack the court if the NFA was challenged. Yeah. And we've heard that court packing thing already being suggested once again. But that is exact. FDR was a tyrant. I don't care anyone. FDR
big
was
time,
not a savior
big time.
Of this country.
No, Clay, he had a disease. You're picking on people with diseases.
Yeah. Yep. Any tyrant, I don't care what they got. I don't care color they're after a tyrant, I'll pick on them. Yeah. Anyway, 1968 Gun Control Act. So in 1963, we know what happened, right? Did you read about that in the history books? Little thing with JFK?
Yeah.
Bullet in the head down Dallas type. Yeah, 1963.
The last good 5th, Democrat president. Then
NRA member, by the way.
Lifetime.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
Lifetime.
So he gets assassinated. Well, Lyndon B. Johnson then, and of course we had Martin Luther King assassinated.
Right.
There's a lot of things going on in the 60s.
Bobby Kennedy.
So NRA got involved with that, and yes, they were supporting the Gun Control Act, but it wasn't called the Gun Control Act in 1968, but it led to that.
Right.
But by the time they got to it, it was nothing like what, getting around to voting for it was nothing what they thought it would be or what they wanted.
Huh.
And essentially NRA then came out against it. They never talk about that. They were trying to, again, litigate it. Remember who owned Congress at that time? Which party was it?
The Democrats.
Yeah. And we had a Democrat president in Lyndon B. Johnson who was not friendly to the Second Amendment.
No.
So,
he wasn't friendly to much of anything other than Kennedy's wife.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Sending everyone to Vietnam too. He wanted that war pretty bad. So when NRA got basically what was going to happen, and they knew this was going to happen, they didn't like what they were seeing. Then they came out and they said, "No, we can't support this." Remember, NRA was not a political figure at that time. They were about marksmanship.
Wow.
They were about teaching kids and people how to hunt and shoot. That all was, after the Civil War. That's why it was started.
Yep.
So the ILA did not exist till 1975, I believe it was. So remember, we're not even at that point yet.
Yeah.
So what happens is they do this mass mailing to its members saying, "Whoa, we do not support this. We cannot have this happening. This is a bad bill now." And they came out against it. They did effectively get some things pushed out of that bill, but it was on its way to be passed no matter what. Senator Dodd even came after them because he said their tactics were blackmail, intimidation, unscrupulous propaganda on the licensing
thing they say nowadays about them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And basically it passed. We know what happened. It did pass. It was nothing. It was very watered down from where it was headed. And it passed. 1968 Gun Control Act.
So Clay, instead of getting your head lopped off, we lost a pinky.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
What would you rather take?
I'd rather lose my pinky and come back to fight.
Because you're going to get your head cut off either way. I'm going to give you an option. I'm going to cut your head off of your pinky. Which one you want? I'm so damn self-righteous. Just go ahead and take my head off so I get nothing in return. That makes no sense to me.
And that's pretty much what we heard today, wasn't it?
I see a comment. Matt, I want you to, after what Clay and I said, I don't understand how you can still say they're negotiating rights away. How do you compute that? I don't understand that.
Well, and I know that a lot of this, it goes back to what we were just talking about, because they did come out in support of these things. What they don't talk about is, right here, I got the paperwork, they came out against them after they figured out what a bad thing it was. And when you have a Democrat-controlled Congress and president, they got the entire thing. They can pass whatever they want.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then it becomes a deal is, I don't like to compromise either. I hate compromising because I'm always right? I mean, that's just human nature.
Well, that was my finger and neck analogy, your head analogy.
Yeah, and so I'm going to go in there and go, well, I know what we don't want. We absolutely can't have this, this, and this, and this. And you may have to give in on some of the things you really don't want to give in on, but you could live with, and like I said, live to fight another day and go after it when you get a friendly Congress. This is how wheels of bureaucracies work. They suck.
Yeah.
And at that time, you couldn't depend on the Supreme Court either. I think now we got a big
Oh,
chance.
Supreme Court was controlled by leftists for 100 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think right now is the best time we've ever seen in our history in modern day to reverse a lot of this. I would love now, I really would love to see all the gun groups get together, challenge the NFA, challenge the 1968 gun control act, go to 1986. And by the way, NRA gets blamed for that too. But let me tell you one thing about that. Like Jamie, well, you say it better. What happened? How did they pass that?
Yeah, well, everybody blames the NRA and Reagan for banning machine guns in 1986, and that the Firearms Owner Protection Act was going to pass, which actually helped out gun owners and gun dealers and gun manufacturers. Middle of the night, they had a voice vote on banning machine guns. I can't remember the guy's name from New Jersey, and if you actually watch it, I think it actually didn't even pass, but he said it did, and they put it into the bill. Ronald Reagan signed it. Had nothing to do with the NRA.
The NRA
guess what? Now the NRA gets blamed for it. Hey, the NRA supported that too.
And they did because it didn't have that amendment in it.
Right. They put it in the FOPA after the NRA was done with it, and they put it in.
And like you said, it was a voice vote. It wasn't even a recorded. It wasn't an actual.
Oh my gosh!
Vote. And
like I said, I saw it. It almost sounds like it didn't even pass the yays. I'm like, I'm not sure that was a yay. So a comment here, I agree with Vance. GOA stands firm. I stand with the NRA, but they need to change leadership. I mean, from what I'm reading, Vance, over the years, it's hard for me to believe a lot of the leftist media on it, but it does sound like some not
I
real.
tell you right now, what did I tid you when I was there? What did I say about Uncle Wayne?
Uncle Wayne's conservative as you and me.
He is, but I also said it was time for him to retire.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as
really was, and that's been 7 years ago.
As far as GOA goes, I've been at the Capitol, and when we have gun bills up there, guess what? Guess who's never there, Clay?
GOA.
Gun Owners of America is never there. Never
Guess
there.
who's always there? Brian.
The NRA is there on every bill.
Wow.
The NRA was against red flag laws here. The NRA, Luke Simons will tell you, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anybody more conservative than Luke Simons?
Maybe me. No.
Okay. Okay.
Luke is very conservative.
Luke will tell you the NRA was big part of passing permitless carry in North Dakota. Rick Becker will probably even tell you that. Rick Becker, it was his bill. The NRA was, and they fought it, like I said, red flag laws. Any anti-gun stuff, the NRA was here. They had a representative here.
They did.
The NRA is more of a lobbying group to senators and congressmen than they are take them to court group, which I'm fine with. You need lobbyists. I'm sorry, that's just a damn way.
And that's why NRA formed NRA ILA, and I believe it was 75, and that was in response to the passage of 1968 Gun Control Act. They figured, okay, we are losing our rights, and we cannot reason with these people. I mean, this was the discussion that took place at the national meeting, and that's when ILA was formed. That is the history of the NRA and why ILA came about. And have they always been right? No, they haven't. Have they always backed the right candidates? No, they were playing a chess game, and sometimes you lose.
Yeah.
We saw it in 2000. Like I said, Trump was the very first candidate to ever be endorsed in a primary for president. First time ever, guys.
Wow.
Because they knew at that time we had to have a candidate out there who would protect the Second Amendment. Now, Jamie, was I a Trump supporter at first?
No,
no.
Hey, I went over to Trump before you did.
Long before I did. Before I did.
Yeah.
Because I didn't feel that he was conservative, and I didn't feel he was pro-gun, did I?
No. Well, Clay, to be honest with you, though, he wasn't pro-gun. Donald Trump wasn't pro-gun.
He's become way
he was
more
pro-gun. Yeah, he was out in favor of, quote, assault weapons bans and universal background checks and a few other things. But like we just said earlier, the man was president, and because of him being president and his judicial appointments, we now have a Supreme Court and a ruling that is overturning all kinds of anti-Second Amendment laws.
So, I look back and I see what people say about the NRA, and I can tell you this. I haven't belonged to one single group that I've ever agreed with everything that they've done.
Right.
And you never will.
I don't even agree with you 100%, Clayton.
No, you and I, we have all kinds of discussions.
I mean, mostly for sure. But
we're friends, ain't we? And most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, we're right there. But that's what it's supposed to be like. And, if you want to not like the NRA, that's fine. But I can tell you right now, without the NRA, you'd have nothing today, because none of the other groups, none of them have the clout, the membership. They do not have that connection with Congress to stop anything. They don't.
And
it's just plain and simple.
So in the committee meeting that I was up in, when I can't remember if Cody was in there or not, but he said today, I said, the NRA's got the big hammer. And he said, well, that was mostly the people rising up and doing that. Yeah, that was awesome. We did have a lot of people showing up, but guess what? When the NRA walks in the room, all them senators in there, the congressmen, and I can't remember what committee it was, but they looked and was like, all right, the NRA's in here. You know why? Because the NRA grades them people, and the NRA's got a huge voice. Like I said, the NRA swings the biggest hammer. I don't care what organization. And
Matt, I see your comments, and I'll address them here quick.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was going to add to that, Jamie. And then you know who I worked for about 10 years. I was National Rifle Association. And I didn't talk about this part of it that I did as a rep, but I can tell you it's true. Especially when I was in South Dakota doing a lot. We were working on concealed carry, and we were working on constitutional carry. I was sent to Pierre to talk to an individual to remind them how much money we gave them. And I was sent by the boys.
That's crooked.
Yeah. I was sent by headquarters to have this discussion. You know why they send me? Because I'm a big pushover, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, look at your hat.
Yeah, I walked in there and I knocked on the door and, oh, how you doing? They knew me there. I said, well, I don't think it's going to be a pleasant visit for you today.
Yeah.
And I reminded them of what they had gotten from us. And I said, we expect your vote to go this way today.
Yeah.
And if it don't, then we will notify all the members in the state of South Dakota what you're planning to do. Your phone will ring off the hook, and you will be defeated in the next election.
Yeah.
And she was, well, that's blackmail. I said, no, that's a promise.
Yeah.
I said, why on earth would we pay you if you're going to vote against us? I said,
Absolutely.
this vote, you ran on this. You took our money. I said, I'm here today because you're talking about caving. I said, I wouldn't cave. And she did.
There's not an organization that doesn't do that, Clay. I don't care what
Every
organization.
one of them does
Absolutely.
that.
Yeah.
I was the enforcer on that. That's what I was. That was part of mine. That's one thing they don't ever talk about. And they don't. Not every rep does it. Not every rep gets asked to do it. I'm pretty sure I know why I was asked.
All right, Clay, hit some of these comments here.
Yeah, we'll hit some of these comments in here. I had to go back a ways. Let's see.
Naomi, feel free to interject anytime you want.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is great. You guys know a bunch about this, so it's
Well,
great.
we have you on here, and I'd love to hear your take on some of that. Gene Cox, he says, did that come out of Missoula? Okay, I talked about that one.
Yeah, you ain't
Oh, Lynette says it was a great debate, Jamie. I'm glad you stood your ground talking about your call.
Thanks, Lynette. Appreciate that.
He says, David Fenny, I knew an old guy that had a false back in his safe, and in a safe after 1994. Imagine that. And Gene Cox pointed out that the 1968 Gun Control Act passed by 2 votes. That's Guns of America stands firm. I still stand with the NRA, but they need new leadership. And you're right, Vance. We talked about that already here, but I agree. I think they need some new leadership.
I think Noah should head the NRA.
I think he'd be great. There was a coup attempt in the NRA. I'm sure you all heard about it. Chris Cox then was in any good coup. If you lose, guess what? You're going to leave.
Yeah.
And he was fired.
And I like Chris Cox.
Would have made one heck of an executive vice president after Wayne. And that was about a whole lot of things, but some of that's true, some of it isn't. The media blew it out into something it was not. Now, Gene Cox, Oswald got a mail order rifle. He absolutely did. And that was what part of the 1968 Gun Control Act was all about, not being able to order guns through the mail.
Yep.
And that worked out well, didn't it?
Yeah. They never have mass shoitings again ever, right?
Yeah. LBJ made good money from Vietnam. Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Basically ensured perpetual poverty in the Great Society. Yeah, the war on poverty. I'm sure you read about that in your history books, Naomi, maybe.
Yeah.
What the school's like, but that was the big, huge failure.
There's a popular quote out there of what he said about a certain minority group that I can't say on the air, but LBJ was...
They'll be voting for us for...
next 100 years, yeah.
And he did say that about the blacks.
Oh, there's a freaking recording of it. You can hear him say it, and yet they still vote freaking Democrat.
He didn't use the word black.
No.
Yeah, I'm guessing so.
Leon, if you're listening, go get him. Go get him.
Hey, and yet, Clayton, they still vote Democrats. The Democrats love us. They help us. No, they don't.
Matt
Go, all
Simon
right,
says,
anyway.
the difference between them and us is they will push the envelope to win. We react and play defense. I'm not going to disagree with that, Matt.
Yeah.
We play defense way too often. We should always be taking more offense. I've said that forever. NRA's just as guilty of it. I used to complain about that when I worked there. I think we saw some changes at the state level because I was in control of North and South Dakota. So I did have some say. I was not working for ILA, though. I was working for the foundation and NRA as a whole. So I didn't get my way all the time. But we did make some progress with that. And now it's went right back to where it was, unfortunately. But Brian's doing a good job. He's okay as an ILA guy. But now he's covering like 10 states, 9 or 10 states.
Hey,
so they're actually
all you got to do is pay us
them.
a little coin on the legislative session.
We floated that to him, didn't we? Vance
open?
puts in here, he goes, NRA has saved us from losing many rights. I support him, but time for Uncle Wayne to retire. And absolutely.
100%, Vance, you're 100% right.
He says, now go ahead.
Go ahead,
no, you're good. In regards to Matthew's comment about that too in legislation, what a lot of the time what I'm seeing, I think a lot of laws are passed in regard to immorality passed in other states. Like a lot of the transgender laws, like via the 68th legislation, was in reaction to all of this happening. So I think it's easier to legislate against immorality than it is to legislate morality. So that's just my 2 cents.
And it's a knee-jerk reaction to something, and got to do something right away. Some of it is, when you look at the 60s versus now.
Yeah.
The Democrats then were just Democrat. They had a different ideology, but it wasn't crazy and it wasn't communist for the most part.
Yeah.
Now this is about total control and takeover.
I know. Yeah, it's bad.
Vance, he says, he talked about the Matt's got, because it started as a legitimate organization. Oh, now I can't get out of here. What's going on?
That supercomputer ain't working for you, Clay?
There we go. There it comes. Because it started as a legitimate organization of activists and it became a grift. And there's some legitimacy to that there absolutely is, Matt. I'm not saying they're perfect, but I can guarantee you without them, we'd be screwed right now, because I know what happened in some of them back rooms. I've been involved with them for a long, long time. You never hear it in the media from anywhere. One thing NRA is bad at, and I've always said that, they don't take the credit when they should, and they don't put it out there. They don't talk about their victories. They don't talk about what they did. They should. And it should be a huge thing, at least with their 5+ million members. Put it out there. Wow. Here's what we accomplished, and make a big thing about it. But
so 2 things, Clayton. It is still a legitimate organization, Matt, because they do still defend our rights. I agree with you. There's probably some grifting going on, but any huge organization like that, I wish it wasn't true, but it happens. And number 2, to go with that, the pistol brace ban is what started the whole conversation, which was good because Cody he got in on Daryl's show this afternoon and made a good point. This judge here, Hoagland, whatever his name was, Clay, ruled against the pistol brace ban, and the NRA filed suit in July against the ATF and the DOJ, and they're part of the case in North Dakota fighting this.
District Judge Daniel Hovland.
Right. And if they were illegitimate, you think they'd be fighting for that? You think they'd be up here getting involved in court cases like that? You think they'd be lobbying for our rights up here every time our legislature? No. If they were illegitimate, all they'd be doing is taking your money and getting rid of your rights. And
I can tell you right now, everyone thinks the NRA has this endless supply of cash. That's not true, because they're continually in court. They're continually going after legislation. They're continually, and they do, guys. They are. ILA is the legislative branch, of the NRA. They are the lobbying part of NRA. So they spend a lot of money along with PVF, which is Political Victory Fund, and they got an army of volunteers. Well, volunteers are great. I've worked with many of them, but you can't afford to pay enough people that you really need. Volunteers sometimes, unless they have the passion for it, like I did, they drop the ball. They do. And when you got 50 states and everyone thinks the Dakotas are safe, they are not. Absolutely. No state is safe from this. Whether it's the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, we're seeing it now. It started with the Second Amendment. And now they're going after Christianity. Now they're going after freedom of speech. They're going after assembly, petition. They're trying to tell us where we can assemble. Bullshit. And yeah, NRA guys is the 10,000-pound gorilla in the room in Congress, whether you like it or not. Cody, whether you like it or not, they fight for your rights too, whether you are a member or not. And without them, you wouldn't have had your gun shop. You wouldn't have the guns you're carrying today. You wouldn't have anything because it'd all be gone because nobody else could do it and nobody was doing it.
Yeah.
Especially in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
That's a good point, Clay. Nobody was. Who was doing it before?
Nobody.
Nobody was doing it until, I don't know, the 90s, probably another organization, maybe.
Even through the 90s.
And like I said, GOA, hey, I like what you guys are doing, but man, you don't have any sand in your bags, man.
Hey, I'm a member of Gun Owners of America, as well as NRA, as well as Second Amendment. I belong to most of them because they're all doing something.
They're doing something. We need all of them, man.
Absolutely.
Is probably the most active on lawsuits.
But I'll tell you this, going back and to the 1930s and claiming that's the same NRA in the modern day is completely ridiculous.
So I want to put this comment up. David chimes in. I may not be a large sample of the NRA members, but I do hear often that competitive shooters don't see the NRA lasting much longer because they are in essence abandoning competitive shooting. And I can't tell you what's going on with their competitive shooting part of the NRA. That may be, David. I couldn't even tell you.
Probably losing donations. You got a bunch of guys like Cody who think they're.
But I can tell you right now, NRA's revenue don't come from competitive shooters. Sorry. It's not. No, it's not. It's not the biggest part of their budget.
I didn't even think of that, but
the NRA is funded. You're not going to believe this, and I'm sure it hasn't changed since I was there. Most of the donations coming into that organization that it runs on are $100 or less, and they're pure donations.
Wow.
That is the bulk of their, and it's to the NRA. ILA has their own structure. You'll love this. This is back 7 years old because I was privy to that information then, but NRA ILA's donations average $50. So this is an organization raising millions of dollars every single year on $50 to $100 donations.
Wow.
And by the way, it's a $25 membership, even though they raised it to $35 a long time ago. But they ran specials all the time to get $10 off. So just think about what they do with it. It's the grassroots. It's still kind of like Trump. Did you know that most of his donations in that period of all of his indictments were $200 or less?
I'm not surprised.
That's why the left don't get it. They don't get it because it's us. It's we the people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, David, I'm going to do some looking into that. I still got contacts there. You got my curiosity raised about the competitive shooting as to if they're cutting back on that and why. That was always it was a cornerstone of the NRA when at its founding to improve marksmanship. So, Matt's got another comment here. I want the NRA to regain my support.
I do too.
I was a long-time member, and I hope that we can. I hope we can. And Matt, I don't know what to tell you. To me, I've always said they've been bad at marketing what they do. That we were no better at Friends. Probably the best marketing we ever had in Friends of NRA was when I was in control North and South Dakota. We had 23, 24 events scattered across both states.
Wow.
The last year I was there, we were still doing 750,000 gross plus. And basically, think about the state fund committees, Jamie. We had, $400,000 to spend in our state funds after we split with headquarters. We were raising a lot of money and spending less. I was doing about
and then people didn't even support the NRA would want money from us
all the time.
You guys put that sign up there, and somebody be like, "Nah, I went in, it still wasn't up there." And you're like, "Man, we gave them guys like $5,000 last year." We're like,
my
nothing for them." Yeah,
but over the course of what was it? Over the course of something like 10 years, even before me, in that, didn't we give them like 100 and some thousand for that range over the course of time? And they wouldn't even hang our sign.
Yeah,
they did not get a grant that next year.
I bet.
Yeah.
And I was the evil one. I was the bad guy.
Well, in the meeting, it was me and you and Jesse and Scott and a few others are like, nope, no way. Nope.
But they blamed me for the organization blamed me because I hated them and this and that, which wasn't true. Just put our sign up, give us some recognition.
Yeah.
Anyway, so NRA guys, good or bad, right or wrong, they are the one organization that has been the most effective. I know guys like Cody Shue hate to hear them words, don't care. I can have that discussion with him all day, but he's going to give me the same answer he gave you
Yeah.
that whole segment on K-Fire. And I like Cody. And like you said, we're for all friends. We're fine. But he doesn't even know. He wasn't even born when a lot of this stuff was going on. Let's just face it. And he don't want to look at. He's got to quit reading blogs. What
who baffles
have never
me
been
is
involved.
He's a smart guy, and there's plenty of other smart. I mean, you can state facts to him, but it just doesn't seem to soak in, and I can't comprehend that. So,
and I would hope that everyone that knows me, if I did not think the NRA was a good organization, would I be part of it? No, I wouldn't. Wouldn't you say that's fair enough, Jamie? That if I was knowing me, if I really felt the NRA was a bad organization, would I?
Oh, for sure. You'd tell them to get.
I'd tell them to get bent. I've told people that over lesser things, but I can tell you, as a whole, they're still the one most effective group, and they're going to continue to be that way, even in the amount of lawsuits they face. Guys, NRA gets sued on probably as much as Trump. People don't realize that. I mean, you should see there was a whole floor when I worked there, at the top of NRA headquarters of lawyers. That's all they did.
Oh my
review
God.
Lawsuits. You don't get it. People just don't get it. When you are in that business, you get it.
The NRA people got it. They got it ingrained now, though, Clay.
Oh,
it's not going to change until Uncle
You hop
Wayne
on
goes.
the internet and search it. When I was looking for info, it's all out there. The NRA got a lot of money. They take in a lot of money, but they spend a lot, Matthew. They spend a lot. And a lot of it goes, unfortunately, to litigation. And I haven't been there for 7 years as an employee, so I can't attest to what's been happening in the last 7 years. But while I was there, we got to see the numbers. We were privy to all that. I can tell you that my two states did great. We were in the black and we did good. But, and some not so good. But I can tell you, California, New York, Pennsylvania, guys, believe it or not, were always tough states as far as on the NRA and issues. And they spent a lot of money in them states. Illinois, another one. Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Just think of your who's who of blue states.
Yeah.
And that's where the money goes.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I got for. I wanted to touch on that. We might. Stay tuned on Friday. We're going to probably hit a little more of this on Friday morning with Todd. 5:50 KFYR.
Yeah. So here's what I think we're going to do on Todd's show for sure, Clay. We're going to talk about this ammunition background check law in New York.
Quick, I got to throw this in here.
Yeah, go for it.
Doug just pointed out something. You are absolutely right, Doug. NRA isn't even in the top 20 of PAC's political action committees for revenue, and they haven't been ever.
Yeah,
I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, NRA's outspent massively.
Oh, 100-1, easy.
Massively. Mike Bloomberg himself outspends the NRA.
Yeah, he does. In fact, he did in 2016. He spent more money on candidates than the entire NRA-ILA in that election.
Oh my gosh.
By himself.
Trump, I think in 2016, that might have been the most money that NRA ever spent on a president running as for
I think
Trump.
you're right, because it was that important.
Right. And their coffers got, depleted. And then all the stuff came out. Whether it's true or not, I still can't confirm that.
Well, I explained those suit things to you when that happened how many years ago.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway.
Yep. All right, Clay. Should we do? We're getting coming up on.
I think we're ready. I think we're ready for a happy ending.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
Never gets old watching.
Oh my gosh.
That's your first time, ain't it?
Wow.
She likes that one. That's a good one, right? That's Clay found that one. Love it.
I put that one together for him.
All right, so this was kind of a longer one. I'm going to cut it down here. I think I'm going to cut it down anyways. We'll see how this goes. An early morning home invasion in West Melbourne, Florida didn't turn out the way the suspects were hoping. In fact, their unwanted incursion into an armed citizen's apartment ended with multiple suspects shot, while those who had every right to be in the apartment emerged unscathed. The incident unfolded early Sunday morning at the reserves of Melbourne apartment complex. Police were called out just before 3 a.m. on a report of shots fired in an apartment in the complex. When they arrived on the scene, they quickly learned that those shot had all been fired in self-defense. Officers learned that multiple, possibly armed subjects had forcibly entered the apartment. According to police, one suspect had a gun. The apartment's resident, armed with their own firearm, shot multiple times and struck 2 of the subjects. One was transported to Holmes Regional Medical Center where they were pronounced dead. The second, who was shot, also went to the hospital. They're currently being treated. And it goes on to say it was a legitimate self-defense shooting, a happy ending. You'd break into somebody's apartment and get your ass shot, and if you die, that's a happy ending to me. You'd still be alive and breathing and having fun if you just wouldn't have kicked that door in with your own gun looking for trouble.
If you weren't a criminal. As Rush used to say, they have assumed room temperature.
Yes, he did. He said that quite a bit. Love it.
All right. So why don't you give us the lowdown here for Todd's? We talked a little bit about it.
So Friday, Todd Mitchell in the morning, KFYR 550 AM radio, where Clay and I are on there every Friday, 7:40 AM Mountain Time, 8:40 AM Central Time. And like I said, for sure, we're going to be hitting on this New York law that just passed, the background checks and all you're not going to believe the stuff you have to go through on these background checks in this New York thing.
Yeah, and I was going to hit a little bit out, but we'll use that for Friday, I think.
Yeah, we got a couple other. I don't know. We were going to do some more NRA stuff, Clay, but I think we hammered that pretty good tonight. Yeah, and hey, sounds like I'm going to go shooting Sunday with you, Naomi, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Wish I could join you guys, but have a great time. I want video.
So Naomi, who's your guest? You got a guest coming, and she's speaking at a church here or something for you. Why don't you let everybody know about that?
Yeah, so we're having Riley Gaines come up this Sunday at 10 o'clock. She'll be speaking at the church. And for those of you that don't know her, she's an NCAA champion. She's a swimmer, and she was forced to swim against a trans female, so a guy. She was forced to swim against a guy.
Dude, big dude too.
I know. And at the end, after they tied to the 100th of a second, they ended up giving the trophy to the guy because the company needed like diversity photos or something. So it was just really weird. And another weird thing too is like in the facility, they changed the locker room without telling any of the girls. They changed it to a co-ed locker room. So literally anyone could have come in and like just so it's just really weird, and they didn't tell anyone. So she's going to be here, and we've already gotten a lot of protests from it. Like the church should be involved in politics.
What?
You guys are just a bunch of bigots, and I'm just like,
are you kidding? Here?
In Bismarck, North Dakota. Yep.
Wow.
I know.
Wow. What is wrong with people?
I don't know. You'd think more women would be standing up for this kind of stuff because it's infringing upon women's rights, but for some reason they can't even define what a woman is. So.
Wow. Well, I can tell you just by if they stood next to each other, I can tell that Riley's definitely a woman. And I can't think of this other geek's name. I shouldn't even say he was a failed male swimmer.
Yep.
Big dude. I mean, he.
There is it up there? No, I don't have it up there.
Guns and 7 would like to share their screen. So it said.
There
she is right there. There you go. And Naomi's name of her podcast there.
Yeah.
Constitution.
Oh, you're having her on even. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right. Awesome.
I just grabbed that off of your
podcast?
Facebook.
What was that?
Go ahead, Clayton.
Oh, yeah. What time's your podcast?
So it's not live. We record and then we edit it. So it'll probably be out a couple days after.
So where can everybody find your podcast at?
Yeah. So we're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and then YouTube. It's at Constitutional Chaffee. But then I have a website too that has all of it, which is constitutionalchaffee.com. So there's a lot of platforms. So if you just look up Constitutional Chaffee, I'm sure you'll find one of them.
Yeah. Awesome.
There's tons of platforms out there. And if you like, we upload all of them. Of course, our favorites, iHeartRadio.
Yeah.
FYR. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Vance Bishop, Riley Rocks, going to be breezy. I think we're going to just shoot indoor. It looks like Dave probably some hang. We're talking about prairie dogs, but it looks like it's going to be muddy. So Crocodile Dundee knew what did Gene put up there? That's a Sheila. Remember when he?
It's a Sheila. It's a Sheila. What is going on with this tonight?
Do I got to pull mine up here, Clay?
You might have to. I don't know. I'm not.
All right, here we go.
Go ahead and hit it.
Gene Cox. I'm going
there.
The wrong way.
I got it. Crocodile Dundee. Crocodile Dundee knew how to tell.
Yeah,
you know that
Henry.
movie, Naomi?
No, what is that?
What? Oh my gosh, for real?
Oh my goodness! I
That's some
forget how much older
non-PC
we
good
are.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
So you got to watch Crocodile Dundee now too.
All right, I'll add it to the list of.
And there's a second movie too. But
yeah,
I think there's
first
4
one,
of
yeah,
them now,
he's flirting with the quote girl in the bar, and then they try to tell him that he's a dude, and well, of course he goes over there and checks.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't have to explain the rest.
That's not a Sheila.
It's not a Sheila. That's a man.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Oh yeah. So anyway,
all right.
That's Crocodile Dundee.
So yeah, so you can find Riley. I'm looking at. Now I'm looking at her picture there, but Naomi.
Hey, another quick announcement. David says they have the North Dakota Mid-Range State shoot on Saturday. He's going to attempt to defend his title. That's great. David won that last year, so good luck to you, my friend. I hope you do that. David Fetting, their 1760 Sports guys. All your FFL needs, right?
State champ.
Oh.
Ran into him up at the Cloverdale store up there. Had a good talk with him.
Did you?
Yeah. Good stuff up there.
Oh, that's meat. How could it be bad?
Yeah.
It's a store of meat.
Yeah.
So Naomi, when you get it, we'll just hang on. We go out here. We'll talk about it. But all right, Clayton, should we end it? We set a record last week, and now I think we beat it again. Boy.
Yeah. So just a quick, quick reminder.
Though. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Friday, KFYR 5:50 a.m. radio. We'll be at 7:40 a.m. Mountain Time, 8:40 Central Time. Of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about New York's ammo registration and background checks, some other things. And of course, plug the show. We probably going to do a poll next week, ain't we? We
are.
Back.
Yep.
And then of course, Wednesday nights live every single Wednesday, 6:00 p.m. Mountain Time, 7:00 Central Time. We used to be about an hour, but we're going pretty much 2 hours anymore.
Next week, Next week, Clay and I will be solo. The week after that, sounds like we're going to have Scott Bachmeyer on from Dakota Prairie Outdoors unless something changes. But right before antelope season, Scott's going to be doing some antelope hunting. Clay and I are not.
And we do not have tags that was closed in our areas. So we won't be hunting any antelope.
Yep.
We're going to have another gal on. I've been talking a little bit with her. We'll see if we can get a date knocked down.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And that has to do with the border.
Yeah.
That lives in New Mexico. She's fighting the border battle every day because their land's right against the Mexican border.
Right.
Not good. And there's going to be a deal coming up on October 21st. So we'll start plugging that a little bit. That's going to take place in Dickinson, North Dakota, being put on by the District 9 Farm Bureau. She spoke in Bismarck at the Farm Bureau Young Farmer Rancher Convention here last November. I'm telling you guys, it's worth going and seeing what she has to say. This is insane what's going on. And the Second Amendment don't apply down there because if you shoot one of them, they'll shoot you. They'll shoot your kids, your grandkids, your family. The cartels come after you. So
shooting would be easy compared to what the cartel will do to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
So, anything these guys do, it's brutal.
It's horrible. It really is. So, well, Naomi, I think you got anything else you want? What's your website again? Go ahead and put that out there.
Just constitutionalchaffee.com.
There you go. Pretty easy. Constitutionalchaffee.com. Check it out. She's got a Facebook page under the same name. Some great stuff. I hope to have you on again. This was a great conversation.
Yeah, thanks.
We probably didn't let you talk enough. But
yeah, Clay and I are pretty
windy. You guys were
going
off on NRA stuff. It was great. It was great.
we get that way. We get that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Appreciate you coming on. Hopefully, I hope I could do some shooting with you guys too. I'd love to get you out on a handgun range even and
just hang in there till after the show here.
Yeah, hang in here with us and we'll talk a little bit. Guys, Constitutional Chaffee, check her out at her website, constitutionalchaffee.com, or hit her up on Fascist Book, Constitutional Chaffee. Till then, guys, I guess we will see you guys next week. Listen in Friday morning again, KFYR Mitchell in the morning. 7:40 a.m. Mount. And guys, a little quick announcement. Sounds like after we get through the baseball season, Jamie and I are going to be on there at least for another for 45 minutes.
Starting at 8:15.
8:15 every morning.
Probably the week before deer season is going to start, if I had to take a guess.
So, all right, guys. Well, with that, we're going to call it an evening. Thanks for sticking in there. We had a great audience tonight looking at the counter.
Hey, you're a good
Keep
draw.
Keep your powder dry, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
You bet. See you guys.